All right. We are here for the Boil 2 in beautiful Stone Mountain, Georgia, presented by Topdeck.gg. Drake, we have over 320 players here today, and we're about to kick off with round one. How you feeling?
Pretty good. What was the final number? It was 323. Is that correct?
323, yep.
That's I believe I heard during the players meeting, the largest event ever. So I mean,
Yep.
a classic take here, as you know, the first platinum diamond event
Yep.
of the 2025 Top Deck Invitational Series. Of course, breaking records as these events often do. You know, these events are great. People come out to them. They're obviously have the largest pool of points and usually the largest pools of cash of CDH events you'll ever see. As a result, people show up, and
Exactly.
they certainly did here today. So this is, I mean, there's a lot of eyes in this event, especially post ban list. Right, we've seen a bunch of tournaments here and there. It's been about a month and a half. This is really the first big event where we're really going to see, all right, what have people been cooking since the bans?
Yep, exactly. This is going to be where we see how things completely shake out today. And we have an interesting pod to get to, actually. A couple decks that have been bolstered by the bans and a couple that have been hit pretty hard.
Yeah, this is quite a sweet mix to start off here. So, of course, we have got to feature some of our top deck players, and you know, Evan Pierce, Freedom Waffle, one of those for sure, a high tier competitor, high on our leaderboard the entire time, and mixed in with plenty of other very talented players as well, playing a variety of decks. Like I said, we're really looking to see what exactly people have cooked up and what they're doing. We're seeing a little bit of something new, a little bit of something old, something blue, even I would argue.
A little bit.
And yeah, so we can see here we got Timna Dargo. I believe that's in first position, marked there by that active player. Then, of course, Freedom Waffle in second seat, solid positioning. Third seat, a little bit of glare here, so work with us as we figure that out. That's Thrasios and Rograk. So Thrasios, Rog, that deck been getting a lot of attention recently.
Stickers under it, by the
Oh,
way.
and yeah, we got the sticker
There's
sheets.
the sticker
I believe there is a, what do we call it? We call it name sticker goblin,
Yeah,
mind
the
goblin.
name, Mind Goblin.
Mind Goblin.
Guacamole Goblin.
Yeah, okay. And then we have Arenas, Gloomstalker, and Street Urchin, a Gruul deck that we've seen a little bit before, but not really see succeed at a high level. Now, post-bans, might be time for it.
Yeah, definitely. And this player, I believe his name is Kirkland Brown. He's been able to bring this deck to a lot of tournaments and perform decently well with it. And we can see if this could be the big breakout for the deck today in a post-ban era where we're seeing a lot of Timna, we're seeing a lot of Thrasios, Dorks. Creatures seem to be back on the menu. And here, we're actually leading off right now from Rock Thrasios.
Yeah, you
with
see
a
creatures on the
Gemstone
menu.
Cavern.
How about lands?
Yeah, how about
Gemstone
lands?
Cavern's
Yeah.
good as always. Pitching Mental Misstep, somewhat noteworthy. I think Mental Misstep, especially now, got a little bit more stock. You know, some of the best 0-mana cards have been banned, and as well as the best 2-mana cards. So theoretically, that would organically increase the stock in Mental Misstep. Pitching that has some meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody kept a 7-card hand. Normally, you see quite a bit of mulliganing in this format. Players like their hands.
Yeah, I mean, and in this post-ban format with these decks, these are decks that I don't know that can afford to go fast all the time. Usually, if you want to get aggressive, you can mulligan down. And Mana Crypt used to be something that would be the goal to get to, right? You're on a 5,
yeah.
you see Mana Crypt and a 3-drop, boom, keep, snap.
It's like the Tron functionality, right? Where there's like cards that make 2 mana are kind of 2 cards if you're counting each
Right.
land as a card. Now, speaking of 2 mana, our player in first seat looks like he played Marsh Flats and Lotus Petal. No crack on the fetch line, somewhat meaningful.
Surveil, I'm assuming?
Yeah, and then we got the Hydroelectric Specimen pitched there to the Chrome Mox. I believe a Command Tower as well. Kinnan, you know, kind of the classic start here from
Turn
Kinnan,
one
still
Kinnan
able to
with
get
the
it done. I love this choice, too, from obviously, you know, Evan Pierce, Freedom Waffle, someone we've seen play Kinnan plenty. I like the choice, especially in a post-ban era where, like you were just mentioning, the stalking creatures has gone up.
Absolutely.
And so this is a deck that really didn't lose much. You weren't a great Jeweled Lotus deck. You were a great Mana Crypt deck, but okay, so was every deck.
Every deck,
And
right.
so, you know, you're really not hurt that much as we do move over to Thrasios Rog, who also has quite a bit of mana to start the game off as well with that Gemstone Caverns, able to deploy Birds of Paradise, Rog, Wooded Foothills, mana's well set up. And to the 4th player we go. A lot of mana on this board, but not a lot of action. Have to imagine we're going to see some explosions here in turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we have a lot of mana set up, and we can see some action. It's interesting to note Freedom Waffle going from Timna Crom to Kinnan. It's interesting thinking about what Timna Crom brings to the table now.
Right.
It's arguably a different type of mid-range deck than something like a Timna Thrasios or a Kinnan, and it doesn't have the explosive power of the other Grixis decks like Rogsai. It's in a weird middle ground, and I'm not sure where we're going to see it today, but this is going to be the proving ground to see if Timna Crom is still the top dog in the format that we've known it to be for so long now.
Yeah, I really think Timna Crom, I like highlighting that. Like, it was, I think, widely considered to be the best deck in CDH for a long time. And part of that was, it was really the best deck to utilize all of the cards that got banned,
Yep.
right? Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt.
Yep.
I mean, you're using all of those to full effect. With, of course, exception of Nadu, but that was its own thing. As here does come a Taiga. I believe that is a kind of like proxied Taiga there that is going to deploy a Delighted Halfling as the start. So mana creatures, of course, on the agenda, and uncounterability certainly matters in this very, very blue pod.
Yeah, with a nice Raucous Theater coming down, a little surveilling action from Timna Dargo.
Yeah, love it. Those lands have seen a ton of stock in CDH. That was kind of the one place where I wasn't sure how much we'd see them. I mean, the format's so fast. Tap lands have a much higher cost, but I mean, even still, that shows you how broken they are, right? They're still worth it.
Exactly, and at the end of the day, when you're looking at 100 card singleton and they're fetchable, they become extremely great. It's essentially like drawing a card if you're using your end of turn to do that. If you don't have a 1-drop that you can use, it's just amazing to be able to turn your surveil into something that can give you card advantage, essentially, or card selection.
Right. Agatha's Soul Cauldron hits the bin. So, yeah, you mentioned, look, that is card advantage, right? It's card you didn't want. You're not drawing it now. So, I mean, classic. It feels so obvious once you see it happen. But, like, I mean,
a tap land is a big
cost. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because here we got Mana Confluence to follow up. 3 mana here. Let's see if we want to move towards something like a slower posture, like with Timna, or if we have some action. Like I said, players kept 7. I would expect some explosions here.
Let's see. Looks like he's reaching something in his hand. A Mirage Mirror.
Mirage Mirror. I've heard that there's combos with this card. I can't say that I'm intimately familiar with them.
So there is a combo, but it's in Kinnan. So
okay.
Yeah. So that's a little strange.
So we're 50% of the way there. There's a Kinnan at the table.
50% of the way there. Mirage Mirror in this list, I'm not quite sure. Let's maybe take a look at the deck list
as we do move over here to the Kinnan player.
That is an Enduring Vitality. This is a new card from Duskmourn. Yeah, this is a 3/3 Elemental Elk with Vigilance. It's 2 green and a colorless mana. You can tap your creatures for any color of mana. So all of your creatures become mana dorks. And then when the Vitality dies, it returns to the battlefield as an enchantment. This is a new card from Duskmourn. Pretty great card in the shell. All of your creatures now tap for mana.
Yeah, and it's cool because I played a lot with Essica, God of the Tree.
Yeah.
And that kind of does that effect for your legends. And so being able to get that for all your creatures, and actually be able to play it in your color identity, I think certainly matters. Now it makes me wonder if Kinnan would play Essica if it was just green commander identity.
It might, yeah.
Like, turning Kinnan on as a mana creature, and of course being a mana creature itself. Certainly meaningful, but more mana setup here from Evan Pierce. I'm surprised. Maybe this is a little bit of a signal as to how the format has slowed down. People talk a lot about that. I think in the pre-ban world, we would have seen quite a bit of, at least like draw engines, maybe even a win attempt here.
Yeah.
These players are still building on mana after untapping with 3 to 4 mana each. I think that's meaningfully showing a slowdown of the format. Like, you're not going to expect it to happen on turn 7 now. Right. But like just going from like turn 2, people can start attempting wins and stuff like that to, all right, now let's look at turn 3 and 4. I think that's a meaningful difference as far as speed of the format.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. We're going to have to see because there's been no counter magic or interaction in this game at all. And there's a good chance that these are players who are known to keep that type of stuff in hand. Freedom Waffle does not leave home without a counterspell in his hand. I will tell you that, but having watched his games for this long.
Can't say I blame him, man. I wouldn't want to show up to the event without counterspells, but
yeah. You're a very highly interactive deck.
Right.
And you have access to a ton of mana, and right here, he has Kinnan up for 2 mana whenever he needs it.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the sneaky thing, right? Is it looks like he's tapped out because his lands are tapped. That's just very rarely the case in the Kinnan deck. Their other permanents represent so much mana. As we're doing quite a bit of thinking here, is our Thrasios Rog player going to take a look at exactly what we want to move towards. I mean, like I said, a ton of mana, and it looks like we did fetch the Hedge Maze to get a little bit of scry action. So, yeah, we got Command Tower, Hedge Maze.
By the way,
just
a little update on the Mirage Mirror in our top left deck list here. For the Timna Dargo player. This player is running Zerda and Basalt Monolith plus Walking Ballista.
Okay, we're cooking.
So we're running infinite mana combos. And Mirage Mirror, I still can't find anything in this list that Mirage Mirror necessarily combos with. But at the same time, it is an incredibly powerful...
Yeah, maybe we're just copying stuff.
Oh, no, sorry.
Here comes Phyrexian Metamorph, and copy that, right? Here we go.
Codex Shredder. There's a Codex Shredder in the list.
What does that represent?
So what it represents is what you could do with infinite mana with Basalt Monolith and Mirage Mirror and anything that it can copy.
You can mill your deck and then pick up any card, right?
You can mill everybody's deck.
Oh, or you can mill everybody's deck. I was thinking mill yourself, and then you can pick up your Ballista. Yep. That works too.
So what you could, you could do either or, right?
Sure.
So you put the untap, you put the copy tokens on the stack, a bunch of Mirage Mirror copies with a bunch of Mirage Basalt Monolith untaps, make infinite mana, and turn Mirage Mirror into whatever you want, so you could have untapped triggers for your Codex Shredder, a.k.a. Mirage Mirror.
Right.
If that sounded a little complicated, it is.
It is complicated. That feels overly complicated to me in like a deck that normally wants to just kind of combo out of the command zone.
Yeah.
This feels maybe extra convoluted,
Maybe
but not
a little
sure.
overcooked.
Yeah, well, okay,
Maybe a
well, we
little bit
deployed in Phyrexian Metamorph, which I believe made Kennen some more mana deploying, and now over here to the Gruul deck, we got an Elvish Reclaimer coming down.
Depths?
A little bit.
Some depths coming
I
down?
think it's Gaia's Cradle is my guess.
Probably. Gaia's Cradle.
This looks like a creature deck to me if I had to gamble on
Absolutely.
it.
This is definitely a Gaia's Cradle deck. There's no doubt
Let's
about
take
it.
a quick look at the deck. Let's see what we got as targets. Got Talon Gates. I guess that's something.
Talon
A
Gates
temporary
is a
removal
real
spell.
card.
That's kind of nice.
Shifting Woodland also.
Sure.
Is a real
Got
card.
Cradle. I mean, you could Commercial District, right? Just go grab that Scry action.
Absolutely.
Urza Saga. Yeah, we got some options here. I mean, they even have
Emergent Zone,
Urza's
Dryad
Cave.
Arbor.
A lot of land tutoring available in this deck. So
Are we
I have to
gonna
mention the Cradle's got to be pretty important, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that makes sense. You're in Gruul. You don't have a lot of the black ritual style mana.
right.
So you're relying on creatures and things that pay you off for creatures. Cradle makes a lot of sense to be important to that strategy. As we do finally move back to our player in first. Like I said, a player I expected to see some fireworks from. Mirage Mirror was not on the agenda, and now no Lotus Petal to work with, so really behind on mana when you compare them to the rest of the table. The missed land drop, I think.
And
No,
Gemstone
I'm sorry.
Caverns, which might as well almost be a missed land drop. Just not having your colors is so bad. Especially
Not
with
even
the
deploying
pass
Timna? Kind of
Yeah.
meaningful, right? We want to hold up Mirage Mirror?
here. Yeah, I suppose so. I don't know what you're really holding it up for per se, but I mean, we'll see.
I mean, copy artifacts, you can get yourself a Kennen, right?
Sure,
That's like
sure.
something. I don't know what that
I don't know
does.
what
Yeah,
that does.
I don't know what that does.
You are
but
correct. It is something.
It is something. It's an artifact. That Phyrexian Metamorph does stay an artifact, so that's
Yeah.
something to keep an eye on. As we do move back to Evan Pierce.
Copy
Got a
Elvish
Yavi
Reclaimer.
Maya Coast, so no problems on the mana base side of things. And are we at activation time? I think we are. We have an activation.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Pretty far from 2, I think, but
No, yeah, 2.
well, no, because you have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, I can't count.
Well, assuming Kennen says other, or
Right,
not.
right.
This says everything, not other.
Yeah, it should say everything. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if Kennen.
It doesn't come up much,
Oh,
but I
doesn't
think
come
it
up
does. I think it does. Like I
would
said, I
assume
played
it does.
Kennen and Essica for that reason. It was like a two mana rock. So that was.
Yep, just whenever.
I'm just gonna talk about Essica the whole time because that's my only
That's fine with
comparison
me,
point
too.
for
That's
what's
fine
going on
with me,
here.
too.
No play from either of the top half of the table.
Wow.
Odd.
Well, it makes more sense coming from Evan. Both of these players have activated abilities they can use.
True.
However, Evans is quite a bit more powerful at the moment than the Naked Mirage Mirror.
Makes a lot of sense as we do move back here to the Thrasios Rocks. Now keep in mind that card that's very glared, that is a Thrasios, so we could move towards that if we wanted. Maybe somewhat meaningful. We haven't thus far. Here's a Mox Diamond. That's going to pair nicely with the Phyrexian Metamorph Kennen that we have, so way better than the land that we pitched. So we got a bunch of mana here. Got 4, 7. That's a lot to work. Like I said, these players have a ton of mana.
Yeah, just unlimited
Just
mana.
who's going to jump first is really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Here comes 4 mana play. It's Assault Monolith.
Monolith with their own Kennen. Okay.
Yeah, with their own Kennen.
Win
Your
attempt on the
Thrasios
stack.
Rog deck's going to start Kennen combo. We have a Thrasios that we can still cast. That's a win.
That's
This is a win
definitely
attempt.
too,
A cheap win attempt
yeah, absolutely.
at that.
And the Rograk Thrasios deck, I believe, does run this combo in the deck itself.
I'm sure.
Clearly,
Yeah,
as we see the song.
yeah, it'd be weird. If,
It'd be a
I
little-
think Milo's fine without,
Who
but I
knows?
doubt it.
I doubt it. But here we go.
And now
Let's
the
see what this
conversation
player's got.
started. We know that's another thing I know about Evan Pierce is
Oh, yeah.
he gets involved in the political conversations here as far as getting things countered. And this is one that has to be countered. So there's no way. Oh, here we go. We're showing
Got some
cards. It's a
What-
trading card game.
Little lightning bolt. Showing a little- Hey, but I got a little burst lightning for you.
Yeah, I mean, you want to go for this? Like you want
Foundations is legal. Here's a burst lightning. What do you got?
We couldn't put lightning bolt in foundation, so. I mean, win attempt on the stack here. These players have to find something. There's no way the first thing works. There's been too much posture.
Yeah, there's no shot. I think. I mean,
And
you have
traditionally,
to
these Mardu
imagine.
decks, like Timna Dargo, have a lot of removal. So if we start trying to go for something, it would
Yeah.
not surprise me to see some removal come down on Kennen. But I mean, this is
We'll
this is
see.
well set up. I mean, hard to interact with. A lot of mana backed up here.
We have one spell on the stack that matters so far. Oh, I see a little red blast being. It looks like a red blast that Kirkland, the earnest street urchin player, is flashing over to our Rog Thrasios player, saying, "Come on, man, don't do it. Don't make me do it to you."
I mean, what do you mean? Don't make me. There's a basalt monolith. What are we
Right,
talking
so-
about?
I don't even understand what the
And
conversation
you're the
is
first one to
about.
untap. Yeah, exactly. What are we even talking about? You have mana up. You're the first to untap. Just blast it. What are we talking about? This is where it gets off the rails for me. It's like it's not how do we find the best answer. You have a very good, a very clean answer to what's being presented here. Just cast your spells.
Fire it off.
Just cast your
It's only going
spells.
to be good against the Kennen at this point. and you're not in the position to worry about that. If you're the Earnest Street Urchin player, your goal is to get Kinnan off the board with removal at this point. I would have to think.
I mean, removal would be nice to use here because not only is the Kinnan representing a ton of mana for these players, but also, like you said, a combo. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot. If you can start removing Kinnans, you get a little bit of double action. That's really why when Kinnan started to rise in popularity in CDH, I was big on pushing for more removal in the format because it really does give you that double. Even though Kinnan is cheap to recast, in certain cases like this where the Phyrexian Metamorph can't be recast, it's not your commander, that's better. But also, I mean, it answers two things. Like, it answers the combo piece and mana in the same go, and it's pretty rare you get that opportunity in CDH with the one interaction spell.
Yeah, and just looking at this right now, a cut down would be the best card in your hand right now if you had it.
Targets aplenty.
A nice Doomblade.
I mean, Search of Plowshares maybe a little bit better.
Well, yeah, sure. They gain life.
Oh, yeah, terrible. Can't have that.
You can't have
that.
They play Sylvan Library, I'm sure.
All
One
right.
of your favorite cards.
Well, the conversation is still raging on. These players have not decided to cast any spells yet. And like I said, this is to be expected when you start seeing a win attempt, especially an early win attempt. Players want to. That's what I think the best opportunity to start to leverage politics.
Early?
Like, okay,
This is turn 3. This is late game.
you're the first one to do it.
Yeah, fair.
First one to attempt to win here.
Well, maybe that's just me still holding over from the old meta pre-ban, thinking this is late game.
I mean, there's still decks trying to win quick, and I think we'll see some of that today. A lot of our very talented players have showed up with, I would call turbo decks, things like Rogside, stuff like that. This pod not really presenting much of that. You can maybe call the Tim Dargo deck a turbo deck, but
possibly.
But I mean, really, how many people were playing Dockside and Casual? I don't know, but it was obviously a big fixture of CEDH.
Yep.
And if you were going to make bans for CEDH, I think maybe reaching for Underworld Breach is the correct one in a red card to go for over Dockside, but
it's possible.
whatever. I think people are largely adjusting to the bans.
Yep.
The biggest one I still feel bad about is Jeweled Lotus. Like, that one was pretty innocent, but the rest of them actually, like I said, I think they feel okay. And I've seen a lot of discussion on both ends. Some people really like it, some people don't. And I mean, maybe you're going to see a lot more of this. This exactly what you're seeing here. This conversation just nonstop raging on.
See. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, Dockside as a Rogside player was not something I really cared all that much about. Of course, it's an amazing ritual, essentially. But whole decks were built on Dockside Contortionist. And what I've found in my own experience playing CDH after the bans is that it's taken a lot of these other kind of decks in like the tier 2, tier 1.5 category. It's taken away their ability to win quickly. So people have adapted to a play pattern of playing a lot slower, playing a lot more conservative, a little more scared, you might say, and a little more unable to push win attempts without that explosion of mana and combo potential that Dockside just offered on turn 2 very often for decks that otherwise don't really have ways to win turn 2. Rograk Thrasios is a deck that can produce a ton of mana, but without being able to really pop off with Dockside, its ability to do so is certainly dampered. Although here we see a turn 3 combo attempt from our Rograk Thrasios player.
Yeah, I mean, Kinnan really is what is allowing that to happen, more or less, of course. And I think Kinnan is going to be a much bigger player, not just in the command zone, but also, like I said, in the 99. That's really why I do like Evan Pierce's choice here, pivoting from Tim Necrom into Kinnan for that reason. But I do like what you just highlighted. Like, just being mindful of your mana is so much more meaningful because Dockside's not there. It's not there to just solve all your mana problems in one go. So you can't just use everything you got, blow everything up, and interact and all this stuff. You have to actually be mindful of things like your Mana Vault, like your Basalt Monolith and stuff like that.
I don't have any interaction with that.
And certainly notable that that Tim Necrom, in my experience having played it, absolutely cannot cast any of its spells without Dockside. The mana in that deck is pretty
it's so
difficult.
bad.
It's so
such
bad.
a mana hungry deck.
It is such a mana hungry deck. You're playing a ton of colors, and it really just
saw Wheel of Fortune flash here from the Tim Dargo deck.
Okay, that might have been a game plan.
Know what that accomplishes. So, I guess this Basalt Monolith resolved, and the Kinnan is still in play. It sounds like there was maybe a judge call. Let's get some updates on that.
The judge call was that the Basalt was cast, and the information that the player had no way to interact with it was gained, so it has to stay cast. Like, they wanted to reverse it, but they were not allowed to.
Okay.
Information.
So I guess we got a judge stricken down takesy backsy. So with the Red Blast revealed, he kind of wanted to rewind casting it, but new information was gained in that process. And so because of that, you cannot rewind. And so rewinding didn't happen, as here comes a Kitten activation.
Valley Floodcaller. Not going to do the trick here, I don't think.
I mean, yeah, what is that even? Okay, so explain to me, what is that in the Kinnan deck for?
I believe that there's ways to use it for non-creature spells to untap. your Birds of Paradise. I'm assuming you might be playing Paradise Mantle. There's probably another assortment of birds or frogs or lizards that are generally unplayable that Kinnan is playing, I'm sure. I have to think, right?
Generally unplayable.
Generally unplayable.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's also combos with Retraction Helix. Retraction Helix, if you put it onto a Valley Flood Caller, I know some Thrasios X decks are playing this. If you put Retraction Helix onto a Valley Flood Caller and you have a 0-mana rock, you can. Retraction Helix says it gives the creature the ability to the end of turn to tap it and return a target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So you tap it, return a rock to your hand, untap, cast the rock, untap it, and you can make infinite mana if you have a way to make mana on 1 or 2, right? So if you have a Soul Ring, you can do that. Tap it for 2, bounce it, put it back in your hand, cast it for 1, untap Valley Flood Caller, tap it. You have 3 mana, do that again, and you've presented now an infinite loop. So that is a possibility that Evan is on some kind of combo like that. I would assume that is a pretty decent way for Kinnan to make infinite mana.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense to me. You know,
Bird's not
I love
terrible.
to see. I love to see some Retraction Helix getting some.
Some love.
Getting some love. I mean, again, I'm not going to bring up She Who Shall Not Be Named, but there's a deck I played that used that combo at one point in time. Yeah, I love to see that.
Is that Born from the Gods, right?
Yeah.
Banger.
Correct.
Born from the Gods, banger.
Yeah, I mean, Valley Flood Caller is doing a lot for CDH. I think I've seen a lot of discussion around that card. Obviously, a lot of the decks that already wanted Born Upon the Wind want it for the flash effect, but I'm not an expert at hand gestures. That's a red blast that we knew about, right?
Yes.
It was kind of more or less priced into answering the Kinnan.
Yeah, I believe that is what it's being used for here.
What is the timing on this? We can just respond, right?
Well,
And then you get an activation? Yeah.
Well, the problem with the responding to the Basalt Monolith is he has 3 other sources of mana.
Right. I mean, but then he doesn't have colored mana.
Fair.
And that's like meaningful for the activations.
It definitely is, but you just probably want to just get that off the board. And
Yeah, I guess you have to do it
think
before
about
you untap, which is what I
Yeah.
think we're trying to do here. Because the action player token, I assume this being passed over.
Oh, so
Get an update on whose turn it actually is. That conversation just went on for so long.
Yeah,
And then, of
this-
course,
this
Valley
def-
Flood Caller has flash, so
Yes.
hard to tell whose turn it actually
well, it also
is.
just got Kinned in too,
Yeah, that's true as well. It did get the activation.
which
put into
certainly
play.
not what Evan Pierce wants to see off of Kinnan activation. I'm sure.
Right. And like I said,
And there
probably
we
did that
go.
before end step. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, Phyrexia Manowar destroyed nothing in response. Some deals there, or what are you thinking?
So I think what happened here is Basalt Monolith was still on the stack. I think the way I interpret the judge call is that the Basalt Monolith was cast.
Sure.
When it was cast, the player next to him, this Ernest Street Urchin player, showed him the red elemental blast.
Got it.
In doing so, he made it so he could no longer take back the Basalt Monolith because new information had been gained.
Right, so you're saying we didn't even pass the turn. We're saying Evan activated, still in response, found
to
Valley
the
Flood
Basalt
Caller.
Monolith, yep, and then that's where we ended.
We did end up blowing up the cannon. So now, I was actually just a turn cycle ahead. I thought we were doing stuff, and we're not
Yeah.
doing stuff. We are still on the Basalt Monolith player's turn. What a turn. This has been a long one.
Absolutely. We're still on the nobody doing anything.
Classic.
Currently.
Classic CEDH. Nobody's doing
We've
anything.
had one spell cast and one ability activated, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, that takes 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, usually.
Back over to Kirkland we go here with his Uranus and Street Urchin deck. Don't know what that's a proxy for.
Ancient Tomb.
I think it's Ancient Tomb as well, but it's an odd frame for it. As here comes Delighted Halfling plus Ancient Tomb. That's 3
What do we
mana.
got? What do we got? Oh,
Uranus, Street Urchin. So let's get the text box up on Uranus, Street Urchin really quickly. Get a look at the deck
it
list.
certainly has abilities.
It has some abilities. All right, so this is 2 and a green, uncountable thanks to the Delighted Halfling. Legendary creature, Halfling Ranger, 3/3, Death Touch. And whenever it attacks, you return a land from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if you get some lands in the graveyard,
Yeah, not bad.
good with fetch lands.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and get that cooking. I
got
believe
some
we
strip
do
lines
have
in
a
here?
fetch land. I don't
We got
think
some
we have.
tectonic edges. What do we got?
I don't know. Let's take a look.
Field of Ruin.
You're cooking. I think we have some of the Horizon
Horizon
lands,
lands,
right? Yeah, we got
sure,
Horizon of
sure.
Progress.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Urza Saga, that's nice.
Last Tep Quarry.
We have an Emergence Zone,
Okay.
if you want to go that direction. Beseiju,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can do that thing.
That's a great one. Put it back to your hand.
no Strip Mine.
No, okay, that might be a leak.
That might be.
That might be a leak.
Might be spewing a little bit.
Right.
No Strip Mine, huh?
Little fast bond. Oh, what? Actually, that didn't work out. Never mind.
Okay, so even weirder. So you mentioned the colorless land with the Gemstone Caverns in the previous turn for the Dargo Chamber. How about Fomori Vault?
Oh, that's
Familiar with that one?
okay. Well, here you go. This guy's all in on artifact combo.
Yeah, it
right?
seems to be an artifacts deck.
For Mori Vault, find your Codex Shredder, find your
Jeez.
Salt, find your Mirage Mirror?
I can't help but feel that's a slow way to do it.
I would say so.
All right, well,
I would say so.
Here comes a treasure vault there for Evan. Actually, kind of a pretty good one. You know,
Very
if
good.
you can make the infinite mana, that gives you the infinite colored mana with the
Yeah.
treasures. So an important land, a lot of value to get out of a land
Oh,
there.
wow. So this is actually great here with the Enduring Vitality. Valley Floodcaller has the ability to tap for mana. So any non-creature spell that Evan casts here is going to untap the Valley Floodcaller and rebate him a mana.
We're doing it.
Oh, and we have an invasion. This invasion here is essentially a finale of devastation. It can't find, I believe, non-human creature. It can only find non-human creatures. And we have it tapping for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're looking for a 4-drop here.
4 mana card. Let's get a quick look at the Kennen deck. Anything we can? There's got to be something we can combo with. Like, I assume if this resolves, this is just a win.
Oh, sure. I'm
I
assuming.
mean, I don't know what we're getting at. Let's take a look at the deck list while the other players are going to do some talking about whether or not this one's okay. I think the answer should be no. Got a Tezzeret in here. I guess we're doing some artifact. Obviously, we have Monolith. Duh.
Clever Impersonator.
Clever Impersonator, you can copy the Monolith.
Copy the Monolith, yeah.
And that does it.
Permanent, right?
Yeah, any permanent. Non-land permanent, but yeah.
Yeah, that's not
So
too
Clever
shabby.
Impersonator's got to be it. That'll go
Yeah.
find, and you can politic because people probably don't even have that on their radar.
People
I don't
no
have
clue.
that on my radar.
I wouldn't think about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Very interesting here. It's funny, too, with these invasions.
I don't know that if our plans get Clever Impersonator, I don't know if I love tapping the Treasure Vault, but whatever.
Maybe not, but I also don't really know if it's going to matter all that much, to be frank.
Why wouldn't it?
What?
I mean, you need the mana outlet. Isn't that how the combo works?
Yeah. Okay, so maybe it does matter. Maybe I'm wrong.
Whatever. I mean, it
Maybe
could be a
I'll
host of
admit
things. Anyway, what were you saying? I got to interrupt.
Well, once you have infinite mana and you have a way to make, you have at least 2 activations here, it looks like. I don't know if it's that big of a deal.
I also wonder if tapping the Treasure Vault just means Evan doesn't think it's going to resolve.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
very
kind of what
possible,
it.
too.
That's kind of what it
Yeah.
tips off to me. He
Just
wants
keep
his
your
mana
rest of your mana
to have
up.
interaction.
Yeah.
All right, now we have to hand that over. It's not a Wish Call Talisman, but you do have to pick a player to defend
Yeah.
these battles. So our Dargo Timno player with no creatures in play, the only one to have no creatures in play, very smart choice on defending that.
Yeah, good idea. And it's smart, too, with the invasion. Oh, Seedborn Muse. Here we go. That's why.
Oh,
we
it's
got
for
the Treasure
5
Vault.
mana. So we're not
Yeah.
even. We could have gone for a kill here.
Yeah.
And we just didn't.
didn't. He might have not seen the line. This is a great player. I mean, I'm sure he
I would be
have
pretty
picked up
surprised. You
on
don't
it.
put Clever Impersonator in your deck
Well,
not
without
to
knowing.
tutor it up when you got
Yes.
some blowout opportunities.
So,
I really think that
yeah,
he
interesting choice here. I think he just thinks he can keep grinding it out. Yeah, invasions or battles are funny. I've seen so many people swan song or Fluster Storm and invasion.
yeah, that shit doesn't work. Take that
it
somewhere
does
else.
not work. Put that back in hand, buddy.
Spell Pierce.
Spell
Works.
Pierce, sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
some stock increase there.
Memory lapse, back on top.
Talk to me, Dan.
Go ahead. I'm
yeah.
time walking you. Boom.
Oh, boom. Crop
Doing it next turn.
rotation.
That's what that is. Okay.
So we're gonna get rid of the treasure vaults, and that's gonna
Interesting.
make a trigger for the Valley Flood Caller. So you mentioned kind of comboing off with Valley Flood Caller. We're seeing that here.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
it's made 4 mana this turn. And here goes a Flare of Duplication.
Talon Gates and Madara are we going to see here?
I don't know.
That would phase out your Kinnan
That'd
or
be
the
pretty
Seaborn Muse.
brutal.
That's what I would have to assume that Cam is looking for without looking at his land slots in his list. But let's see. We're about to.
I mean,
see
all
what
you
he
have to do is
slams
stack
out.
Rog. That's pretty cheap.
Not that bad.
Stack Rog. Go
Rog,
find a
Rog isn't
find a
doing
land.
much for you here.
Let's have a look, see exactly what the
Thrasios on
Rog
board.
Drastic wants to reach for. Don't know if Talon Gate's something we want to reach for. I mean, even just Guy's Cradle's worth a bit, right? It's already a soul land. But some good value there. Flare Duplication in these Rog decks continues to impress,
It's just a
man.
disgusting card. And also, notable battle versus the finale of Devastation. Not flareable. Certainly not flareable.
Yeah, not flareable.
That makes a big difference.
Take that. Let's see. Doing a lot of thought. I can't imagine, I mean, he snapped off this flare. I can't imagine you do that without some intent here.
Well, I think that this deck is hungry for a Gaia's Cradle. This deck really wants Gaia's Cradle, but here he could be thinking that's
Yeah, you're right. You called it.
Talon
Talon
Gates
Gates Madara. Okay. So this land, I mean, we can't really bring it up on the screen, but this one's seen a lot of stock here. I believe from the
Certainly.
Mono Horizon 3 Commander.
Yeah, the supplemental commander product.
So when it enters, you can actually phase something out. Right?
Yeah, so you phase out a creature.
Got
And
it.
when it enters, you phase out a creature. It taps for a colorless.
Yep.
You could tap it for 1, and it adds any color. So it's a filter land. And then you could also pay 4 to put it from your hand onto the battlefield.
It just has a ramp mode out of the box.
Exactly. And that's also just a way to just ambush people from hand in a
With-
way
as
that's
a removal
essentially
spell.
uninteractable.
Yeah, I
as a
mean, it
removal
reminds
spell.
me of Otawara, right?
very
Although
similar.
I think we're putting
Yeah.
it back.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
Why? Is there something that would stop us from searching, or what do we? It looks like we're pointing. Maybe some conversation here.
certainly. Let's see what we have going on. Some counting of creatures here. Evan's certainly getting a Gaia's Cradle here, you have to think. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what we're thinking about. Like I said, we snapped up the flare. It signaled to me some intent to move. And
Certainly.
Yeah. So do you? I guess here's the question: if this is all you got, do you phase out Kennen or do you phase out Seedborn Muse?
I think you phase out Kennen. Evan right now has 2 cards in hand.
Okay,
and
that's controversial to me. I feel like I would instinctively go for the Seedborn Muse.
Well, he doesn't have seemingly anything to really do. He has 2 cards in hand. If those cards are great, then sure. But here he just has another Kennen activation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He has a Kennen activation with that trigger.
Sure.
When that trigger resolves. So getting rid of the Kennen here means he doesn't have it.
That looks like Gaia's Cradle.
He can't get Gaia's Cradle. Gaia's Cradle makes that even go crazier. And sure, the Seedborn Muse is great, but with 2 cards in hand, it might not do anything.
So you're saying he's just with 2 cards in hand, he's got all blanks. Not going to be anything good. Seedborn Muse doesn't matter.
I think you have to take the.
I mean, I don't hate it.
I think you have to take the gamble versus the onboard issue.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, the deck's built around Kennen, so at the end of the day, deck's called Kennen.
Exactly.
Get rid of the Kennen.
Get rid of the Kennen. Exactly. And 1 activation into 2 activations here is going to be an issue for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't think there's a point in even testing the waters.
And the clever
There's the
impersonator
clever
in hand.
impersonator. There you go. So that's
why I didn't grab it. We're sitting here.
Good,
I told you.
Good go, Cam, on the Talon Gets some Madara.
He's not going to miss it. And I love the sequencing. Look how much mana he spent all turn and got players to interact in weird ways. Like
Absolutely.
With players and stuff like that. He's really done all of this more or less to showboat.
Yeah.
Like, it's not bad if it all goes bad for you because you have a Seedborn Muse. But at the same time,
course.
he's done this in such a way that he's really drawn out the interaction. Now this clever impersonator can stick, and we can copy Basalt Monolith, and then when your Kennen gets back, you're already cooked, like you're good to go. But that's still on suspend. You have to phase out Kennen, right? Which now is a great call.
Absolutely.
You nailed it there.
Well, and that's the thing too. When we saw that invasion play, it makes a lot of sense now thinking about it. Why would he not go for it?
Right.
And the Seedborn Muse is the perfect card to strike fear into the hearts of these players and maybe get a snapped off Swords to Plowshares from Tim Nadargo. Or I don't know, a kicked Burst Lightning. I don't know. I'm only thinking of foundation cards these days.
Like, right, this is
absolutely
because not only if you're going to use bait spells, they have to be meaningfully baiting for the things that you want to clear. And what we're trying to clear here is, of course, a clever impersonator. And so putting things in play that is going to draw out interaction for Kennen.
Yep.
Is what we did first.
Yeah.
And so you got to see what that looks like. And, it's only phased out. It's not, like you mentioned, killed with Swords of Plowshares or something like that. All right, well, now I am willing to commit the clever impersonator. Whereas if it gets Swords of Plowshares or whatever, you just use that mana for Kennen instead.
Exactly. And I don't know if you noticed that, but Evan just flipped over in his hand a Trophy Mage, meaning that is a ETB in Get My Basalt Monolith.
It's not weak.
Not weak at all, I would say.
Especially now that your Kennen's kind of protected. Like, you have, multiple reinforced wins. And now, the whole table, I mean, you mentioned, I think in previous broadcasts, we've mentioned plenty of times on the broadcast that, putting a win on the table that you have to pass the turn on tap with, usually not great.
Yes.
This is kind of doing that, but not. You're doing that twice, and the main piece that you need is actually protected by phasing.
Yeah, exactly. It can't be interacted with at all. It's just completely gone from the game entirely.
So not a bad place to be, but I mean, does stand the table at attention. And now, I mean, if players have a win attempt, they're just going to try it.
Absolutely, and even if you're able to remove the clever impersonator, answer the Trophy Mage and the Basalt Monolith, you still are dealing with a Kennen and a Seedborn Muse. Your time is running very short here for these other players to make something happen meaningfully in this game.
Right, but I mean, they've had plenty of time. That's one thing. If you're going to go back and watch this game and be like, what went wrong? How did it go wrong? All these players had time, and they had time to develop mana. A lot of these players did develop mana. So now, what do you got? What can you do with it? Because you're out of time.
Yeah, certainly. And so let's see. We have some action here.
What do we got here? Let's see. A lot of yapping here, and this is. I mean, I don't want
par for the course.
I don't want to. I don't want to pick on Evan. I mean, part of being a great player is, of course, using politics to your advantage. But I think Evan, known political talker.
Definitely a player who's known for making his case. Making his voice heard, certainly.
Sure.
And, he's not known for being an aggressive politicker, but he's known for being having a lot of conviction in his play. And really testing you on exactly what you want to be doing.
Well, hopefully what they want to be doing is winning the game. So we're going to see exactly what that does look like. I don't want it. Thanks. A little bit of shootering action here. I believe this is with Elvish Reclaimer. So
Yes,
we've sacked
yep.
the land. We're searching for a land. Now, Talongates and Madara, we can actually just keep that going.
Yeah,
like
why not,
we don't
right?
need to do it now. So we can grab our cradle or whatever, and
Yeah.
the next turn we have it if a combo's attempted or whatever.
Sure.
Oh, we're just going to do it now.
Well,
See you later, alligator.
Interesting.
I don't know that I love this, but I don't really know what the plan is next turn. I mean, like I saw last time we were speculating on tutor targets. The other tutor target was just in the hand. So let's, I don't want to make any assumptions, but going for the second Talongates, this feels premature.
Yeah, I don't really get the functionality here with the Clever Impersonator. Clever Impersonator is a Basalt Monolith, and then the Kinnan is a Kinnan. When Evan untaps, he's gonna have priority before anyone else to start activating, and he's gonna have a ton of mana. They're gonna need to have multiple removal spells to be able to get under that.
Right.
And I just don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's happening. And like I said, the Talongates doesn't meaningfully develop your mana, and like that signals to me weakness. It signals to me that Kirkland does not have anywhere close to a win dialed up, and just needs more turns and needs to convince the table that they're here to play ball.
Yeah.
They're here to help stop wins, whatever they're willing to do, whatever needs to be done. But I just don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's a winning strategy. But Kirkland, like I said, someone we've seen have a lot of success. This is somebody, I mean, if you want to talk about ELO ratings, that's a nice new feature in the top deck. One of our higher ELO players, like this is for somebody that wins CDH a lot.
Absolutely.
Even playing some of these off the beaten path decks. I don't want to count them out, especially with their bad seeding and their kind of spicy deck choice,
in a tough position, certainly.
But yeah, it signals to me that we might just be a little too slow in this game. I mean, look at how much mana that Cam's been tapping with here in Rock Drassus. Here's a mana vault added to the mix.
Extremely scary stuff here. Not great.
So I guess Clever Impersonator is a Thrasios, right? That has to be true to be targeted by Talongates, right? That doesn't hit non-land permanents, hits creatures. So the fact that we did Talongates the Clever Impersonator means that is a creature.
So he
that is Thrasios.
Yeah, so because Evan showed his hand already, and it had a trophy mage in it, so he has a way in hand to get a
right. Yeah, and he found the way to find the monolith anyway. So very patient from Evan, and I like it. I mean, he's not in no rush. He's the first one to put a win on the table, so you be patient. As here does come Neoform,
and that's going to get a little card named Kinnan, a little 2-drop named Kinnan, sacrificing the Bird's Paradise.
Yeah, we still got the Assault Monolith to play.
Yeah, so here another must-answer threat.
I mean, it's time, right? That's what I was just talking about. Evan putting all this on the table. Players, I mean, showing what removal they have and don't have.
Showing the trophy mage in his hand.
No matter how likely you think it is going to happen, you have to go for it here, I think. I don't think you can afford to be patient any longer. You're just going to die to Evan. So, I mean, jam time. Here comes the Neoform.
This is it.
And like you said, if it finds Kinnan, we got Basalt Monolith already in play and Thrasios already in play. That's a win.
Yeah. And
it's easy as it gets.
And here, oh man, this is tough because if you're Kirkland here, you do have to get that Thrasios off the board with the Seedworm Muse. But here, if you were able to Talongates Cam's Thrasios, that stops the win. So I mean, it's kind of just your damned if you do, damned if you don't, you might say.
Yeah, it's so, I don't know.
It's hard.
I wish I had listened in on what the conversation was like. The use of Elvish Reclaimer feels like a key thing in this game to me. Like, if you could use the Elvish Reclaimer still, like, there's a conversation to be had about, like, that represents a removal spell. All right, how can we just get another turn? Get another turn. That's what a lot of this late stage CDH is. It's just, all right, how do we get to the next turn? How does everybody stay alive and the active player doesn't win? Elvish Reclaimer represented a lot in that regard, and using it so early, I think might come back and bite unless Kirkland has more. And I mean, I would love to play a lot more if Kirkland does have more dialed up, and for free, obviously. It'd be zero mana,
it's pretty hard in that list to have
we're showing hands.
And we have what looks like
Zerta, Wheel of Fortune, and Tomb.
Zerta, Wheel of Fortune. So, I mean, with the Mirage Mirror, that could be a Basalt Monolith here. So Oliver essentially with a win on his turn, hypothetically.
I think, okay, so it looks like Evan flashed a Flusterstorm, so I think we're trying to build Storm.
Ah, interesting.
I think that's where things are at.
It's going to be pretty tough here. We have Cam with access to 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. It's
a lot of mana. But, I mean, you need 3 to untap the Monolith.
Sure.
Now, that's going to be 3 post-Kinnan, so you just need Diamond plus a land.
Yeah.
So if you can tap 4 mana here, you're good.
You're good.
According to what we see.
Yeah.
There could be some mana hiding out in hand that would blow you out, but
yeah, definitely.
What we see, you need a Storm count. So you already have Neoform. The Flusterstorm itself, you need to cast 2 spells. That's 4 mana. That should stop the combo this turn. Right? I did the math right?
And here we go. Here we have some...
No, we need 5. I'm dumb.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
5. I actually didn't even check that math. I just said, yes, you're right.
I appreciate
And I'm hoping that it is.
Usually I'm right, but you got to actually check me for the times I'm wrong. As
So
here
let's
comes the
see.
Entomb. So yeah, this Entomb mostly meaningless. I don't think there's anything we're going to
No,
grab
I
that
don't think
is
so.
doing anything.
Yeah.
This is just adding to the storm count here.
Probably a Hoarding Broodlord, I would assume. The card he doesn't want to draw and he has combos with.
Okay.
I
You have a
would-
way
I
to
would
get it
guess.
out later? I mean,
I would assume there's an animate dead in the list.
I would scream
or,
like Ellie or whatever. Right?
Yeah,
Like
sure.
get your breach set up.
Sure.
Whatever. I mean, once again, like
Into
just about
whatever the
nothing
next colorless
matters.
land
Yeah,
is.
nothing matters. I mean, if there is any like flashback instance or something, like
Yeah, I don't
sometimes
know.
like Memory's Journey. Obviously, you can't play that in Targo Tip.
Yeah.
But like you see like cards like Memory's Journey for like certain style combos.
Punishing
that are flashback
Fire?
instant speed. Oh, talk to me. Walking Ballista. So we don't have any of that action.
Yeah, okay. Oh, Agatha Soul Cauldron in the bin, too?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. We'll
I mean,
figure
we're
it out.
cooking something, but I don't
Something
know
is
if we
certainly
have time
cooking.
for the something.
And here is the Flusterstorm being snapped
Well,
off.
we have like a lot of mana here from Evan. Like you said, he is low on cards, and if one of them is Flusterstorm, I mean, that is meaningful.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just not enough. I mean, as here does come the Flusterstorm. Okay. I will tap Mana Vaults. And more mana, 4 mana. Okay.
Leaving him with 3.
That's
yeah.
3.
That'll do it.
Seems like enough. It's all you need. So that's not going to be good enough. We need another piece.
Evan looking at the Trophy Mage in his hand, wondering if it's going to be a different card.
And
in
yeah,
his hand.
nothing. Evan's done. He's seen enough. Handshakes.
Yeah, that's it.
Not even going to make you show you the kitten. All right. Okay. I think
Oh.
that might be what we're about to do.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
mean, we can check the deck list real quick. I believe there is a kitten, but like,
I'm certain there is.
it's odd to me
Almost.
not to just like make him show you the
Yeah.
kitten. I don't know. Just trust him. All right.
I guess so. It's like what was that Pro Tour? It might have been a Pro Tour or a GP where a player, it might have been LSV.
Are you talking about the LSV Storm?
The
thing with
LSV
tendrils?
Storm just never had the actual card in his deck.
Yeah, and yeah, if you didn't even have it in the sideboard, that's all you have to do is put it in your sideboard. It
Exactly.
shows not
That's
to,
all you
because they
need.
can see it. And of course, players can see because it's such a low cost to
Of
just put
course.
it in your sideboard. So
Of
who
course.
wouldn't do that? I imagine there's a kid. We can get a look at the list, and if there is one, then that is a clear win. I believe you checked earlier and said there was. So I mean, congrats to Cam. I mean, it's
Yeah.
interesting. You were able to basically execute the exact Kinnan combo in the face of another Kinnan deck.
Yes, and there was a Kinnan in the deck, by the way. We've now
You
confirmed.
checked. So, I mean, an impressive sequence there, and I liked the interaction there between Evan and Cam. I really felt like both of them were a lot more favored once you kind of realize that they're on the same team playing
Yes.
the same cards.
Yep.
So when you talk about all the clones that are in the CDH metagame, you talk about, what players are trying to accomplish in game. That was something you spoke to a lot, is like, what's your plan? What are you trying to accomplish? Both those players are trying to accomplish similar things. That means their clones got that much better.
Oh, yeah,
And that
certainly.
means that half the table, Evan and Cam, they were both very likely to win the game. Evan took a swing at it, couldn't make it happen.
Yep.
Cam, next turn was able to get it done, and I can't say I'm surprised at the result.
No.
But and frankly, I think we're going to see a lot of that today.
Definitely. And I think this was a good example of what this new meta looks like post-ban.
Right.
Right? These are creature-based decks that have kind of slower, more mana-intensive combos, but are heavily interactive, right? And have a lot of redundancy in their combo package. It used to be that you were able to run a very tight combo packages, maybe 1 or 2. Now, with the way that the format is set up, the slowness of the format, I think it does make sense for there to be some more built-in layered pieces that some of these decks are running, right?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And like I said, you just have a little bit more time. Like this game was
Yeah,
slower.
certainly.
The mana creatures were a big factor. That's something that you called
Absolutely.
out. Those
Bird.
mattered a ton.
Yep.
And some of the decks that I expected to come out swinging based on previous heuristics, these Mardu decks in seat 1.
Yeah.
No, really didn't. And
Yeah.
part of that is having no dockside, no Jeweled Lotus, especially for Dargo.
Right.
Like that one actually came up. And no dockside. Like these Mardu decks are just so much slower. And
Yeah.
these Simic decks, I have to say, they look a lot more impressive.
Yeah, and I think the only red cards Cam played that entire game were Rograk and Flare Duplication, if memory serves. So we didn't really see the red side of it. He was basically playing Simic with a little splash, you might
Right,
say.
which is fine, right?
Well,
I mean,
which is
Simic
great,
is
of
if
course.
Simic's the good cards,
Yeah.
why play more?
Yeah.
In ROG, of course, we know the power of that. Like I said, I think we'll be seeing a lot
course.
of that through the
Yep.
day. But really, just this, it's about how to make mana.
Yep.
There's the question. That's going to be the crux. What a lot of our conversation in the booth's going to be today. It's what a lot of these players had to figure out coming into the weekend. Is just, what is your plan to make enough mana to win the game, and what is your plan to have that mana to also interact? Because you can't just
Certainly.
make mana just to win. You still do need interaction.
Yep. And it seems clear to me watching some of these games, and I'm sure we'll see it today, that there is no lack of card draw. There's no lack of players playing
Right.
cards in their hands. It's just finding the way to cast them and get them to resolve when every player has full grips of cards. getting anything to stick is tough. And we saw that here in this game. Multiple win attempts go on the board, and just answers until it just was finally enough.
Well, something's changed, some things stay the same, and
Absolutely.
the plan for getting things to resolve, as you know, we've seen work even before the bans.
Yeah.
Play creatures.
Play creatures.
Works every time.
And push.
Yeah.
And keep pushing. Make them have
If
it.
you can push the creatures, I mean, there's a joke that goes around. Creatures are basically uncounterable. We saw some of that
They are.
there. They were hard to
Yeah.
counter. We saw removal spells.
Yeah.
Didn't see any counter spells. You know what? That Fluster Storm there at the end of the game wasn't good enough.
Didn't do it.
Doesn't counter creatures.
Didn't make it happen. Yeah, absolutely.
So a little bit tough there, but that is going to do it there for our round number 1 coverage. So I believe we have 5 rounds today.
Yes, 5 rounds today.
Yeah, and then we'll have 1 round tomorrow, followed
Two
by
rounds
2
tomorrow.
rounds tomorrow. Look, excuse me, 2 rounds tomorrow, followed by our top 16, and of course our finals pod. So this is the Boil 2. This is the first diamond event on the
First
Top Deck
diamond.
2025 Championship Series. Of course, Bailey, our 2024 champion, not present today. Doesn't need to be. Already qualified.
Yeah. He's
but
in. He's
a lot,
chilling.
Yeah, a lot
He's
of
in
these players-
Cabo.
The only one qualified thus
Yeah,
far.
Cancun.
And of course, the winner will qualify for the 2025 championship. And like I said, all these players, 323 of them, here to claim that crown, here to qualify. And if anything, what last year looked like is a metric. It's going to be popular throughout the year. So
Certainly.
you're not going to want to miss the rest of the coverage. You're not going to miss the rest of the year. We're getting it done here at Top Deck, and we will be back here for round number 2 here in just a little bit.
I'll sing it louder, 'cause I'm empowered. I'll sing it louder, let me show you who I can be. And I'm empowered, and I'll see what you will believe. I got the power to fulfill your negativity. I'll sing it louder, 'cause I'm empowered. I'll sing it louder now. Let me show you who I can be. And I'm empowered, and I'll see what you will believe. I got the
And we're back for round 2 of the Boil 2, brought to you by Topdeck.gg. I'm Dylan Scorish here with
Drake Sasser.
and we're getting off on a pretty exciting pod. Some interesting stuff here. We have Blake playing Magda, Cole Justice, a.k.a. Just Ice, on Timna Thrasios, Zane Nair on Rograk Silas, along with Brendan on Rograk Timna. So a few decks here. Magda's one that has seen a lot of popularity rise after the bans. TNT, again, meteoric rise after the bans. It's back, as some people like to say. And Rograk Silas, one of the decks that people considered the least hit by the bans. Rog Timna, it's an interesting spot. Generally a mid-range kind of combo deck. Dockside used to play a big part. I'm kind of interested to see what this interpretation of the deck is like. What are you thinking, Drake, looking at this pod?
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of nailed a lot of it. Like, this is the stuff that we saw a lot of pre-ban. And so far today, we've really seen, like, our first taste of round 1 was very much about Kinnons, mana creatures, things of that nature as ways to make mana. And we really saw kind of the Marg deck in that pod kind of fizzle out. They had, like, a Lotus Petal. That was it. This is going to really be the test, right? Like you mentioned, Timna Thrasios, there's been a lot of attention on that deck after the bannings because, again, if mana creatures are back, then, you know, what was previously considered one of the best commander combinations of all time, Timna and Thrasios. Now, this is, of course, kind of in the era before Underworld Breach.
Yep.
But really before, like, I mean, Dockside Extortionist was, like, just kind of coming about and people were realizing how good it is. Like, Timna and Thrasios was king for a long time.
Yeah, the
King and
infancy
queen,
of CDH, really.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I would say the infancy certainly of at least tournament CDH.
Definitely,
And
without a doubt.
now we're looking to see, you know, okay, now that we've cleared out some of the stuff that makes these Grixis decks powerful, some of the stuff that makes the red deck specifically powerful, and of course talking about Dockside, you know, is it time? Is it time for a comeback?
Yeah.
And the answer is maybe. A lot of people seem to think so.
Yeah, and this is going to be really where, once again, we've said this in round 1, where we see it shake out, right? What is top 16 going to look like? Are we going to see it dominated by the more turbo decks? Are we going to see TNT be that top dog? Is TNK still poised to be the deck it was before the bans? Or are we just going to get blown out by something we have no clue, we're not expecting? Is a Tali back? Who knows? Probably not. But we'll see.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
I'm not holding my breath
But
on that one.
I mean, I agree with you. And a lot of people make the mistake of thinking single data points in top 16s are very significant. They can be.
Certainly.
But more so, it's like when you're looking at the metagame shares. Now, we do have access to that data now, finally, thanks to all the tools we have available to us. But when you look at the metagame share, what was winning? You know, across the board, in any player's hand, not one specific player, you know, the Evan Pierces, whatever, they're going to make stuff look good that, you know, maybe not. But what is winning in lower elo, less, you know, mathematically less skilled players? Who's winning? And what are they winning with? And what does that look like? So this pod is really going to be a test for that. We're seeing Rogside, like the old menace. And a lot of people saying still maybe the top deck. I think it certainly was. Wrote about that in the top deck newsletter, a little plug there. But I think Rogside is kind of the deck to beat coming into the weekend despite all of the bannings. Can these decks get it done? You know, some of these don't even play blue. Talking about Magda, which saw a big increase, Rog Tim and all that stuff. But really, I mean, Tim and Thrasios, they have to do what they were known to do, play police at this table. Can they do it? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Rograk is just one of those decks that right now you have to be positioned to be able to deal with. Yes, there's plenty of creatures. Yes, you want to stack your deck full of removal and dorks and all that kind of stuff. But if you are going to lose to Rogside turn 1, your deck might not be able to function, right? So, yeah, Magda, some of these other non-blue decks are packing a good amount of stacks, trying to find way more ways to interact. Or, at the end of the day, you just have to kind of come to terms with the fact that you're not interacting if you're the Magda player.
Yes, but. I'll go to yes, but here. I think that there is a lot of that going on. There's a lot of games where you don't interact at all. But I think, especially decks like Mono Red, and this is actually from personal experience playing a bunch of Burgi, I actually had a ton of interaction in the deck, and it was sweet because you got to parade around like, I'm Mono Red, I don't interact. That became part of your political conversation was, I'm not playing blue.
I think they might have gotten me.
I can't, probably once or twice. It was like, the conversation was more about, I'm not interacting. People just assumed I wasn't a factor, and that allowed my weaker interaction because I've been mono red. That allowed that to shine a lot more because you're slept on as a potential interactor.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Get hit with a little bolt bend real quick.
Oh, bolt bend. I don't know about that one. Ricochet trap got a
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah,
little fire blast. Pick those bounds up.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Chef's kiss. Guys had nausea. I'll take one.
Yeah, with Flare too. I mean, you have plenty of creatures in Magda that are just do functionally nothing.
Flare, the best fork we've seen.
0 is better than 2. I'll tell you that.
Math I got
for free. So yeah, I mean, you are right thinking about it. Magda does have a lot of ways to interact. A lot of stuff that's been printed in the last couple sets that just kind of secretly has been great for it. Bottle Cap Blast from the Fallout set allows you to what is it? Convoke or improvise. It does some
Sure.
kind of thing where you make a bunch of mana, make
some
treasures.
text.
Once Magda starts making treasures, I zone out. Just go ahead and do whatever you're gonna do. You know.
All right,
Let me know when I
guess
can.
it's time to I hate Magda.
I hate
I
Magda
think this
too.
deck is,
I hate
think this deck
Magda.
is booty cheeks.
It's so boring.
I'm sorry, Blake. You're in first seat.
Yeah.
You're looking pretty good to win. And casters, we're not. I'm breaking my professionality oath here.
Sure.
But
He did it first, not
I
me.
hate the deck so much.
Yeah.
I just so many times, and I call out Bergie because it's like, oh, I'm a mono red player too. I am. Maybe there's
Sure,
some solidarity
sure.
there. It's such a different texture because when you're Bergie, first of all, it's not all out on the table. It's played from
Yeah.
hand. You're building up. Think of it like Gift Store,
Manual
where you're
storm,
building it
basically.
from hand, and that allows you to hide interaction a lot
Yep,
better.
yep.
Not even do any of that. It just like puts us in the play. And it's like, all right, I guess if nobody does anything for 4
Yeah.
turns, then we're gonna win. So I have traditionally not been a fan of the Magda
No.
deck in any capacity.
It's certainly more linear, without a doubt.
But I mean, I can't deny it has seen a comeback.
Of
People
course.
are playing a lot more of Magda in the
Yes.
post-ban world, and it makes sense, right? You're talking about a commander that makes a lot of mana.
Well, not only does it make a lot of mana, Magda is very good at sitting there for a very long time and not doing anything, right? Essentially, what Magda can do in these games where people are activating Thrasios and playing their Elvish Mystics and their, whatever dorks they're playing. Hard Bristle Bandits from OTJ, probably not. Whenever players are just sitting there and kind of doing nothing for multiple turns, Magda will just sit there and accumulate and randomly win out of nowhere without casting any spells.
Right.
These
And
decks
that
are not
is the
really
power of the
equipped.
deck.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good call out.
Into a slower meta, Magda is exactly the type of deck that I'm not surprised to see succeed in general, with the way that players are approaching with a little bit more fear, right? Magda is very bad against a fast meta where people are winning turn 1, turn 2. It is amazing when people are winning turn 3, 4, 5, if they're winning that early anyway. And here we go with two
speaking of
gemstones.
winning early, here comes 2 Gemstone Caverns. Like I said, I think this card's stock has increased a ton. A lot of players mulliganing to this one. Really one of
yeah.
the best ways to get your mana fixed, which of course Dockside used to do very well, and also get a burst of mana, which Mana Crypt used to do very well. So really one of the bigger players, one of the cards that players are kind of leaning on more to fix their mana in this post-ban world. And a big deal for getting this, coming out the gate strong, especially for decks like Rogsai, and honestly for Tim Thrasios too. They have a lot of work to do to police this table, as Magda is going to take a turn. All right, which dwarf is that?
Oh man, that is Homelands.
Okay, you're cooking.
That is
Let
Homelands,
him
I
cook.
beve.
I'm gonna pull up the deck list, and we're just
Pull up
gonna
the deck list.
we're gonna see.
I'm looking. It looks like Homelands to me. we're looking. We're gonna get you to tell you exactly what that dwarf does.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't want you to suffer not
You
knowing
can't
which
not know.
dwarf was played on turn 1. It is a 1-mana dwarf, I can tell you that.
Let's see.
Uh,
Let's see. No, keep going. Keep going.
You don't think it's
Here we go.
Dwarven
Boom.
Trader?
No. This is here.
Oh,
Enslaved dwarf.
Enslaved
Torment.
dwarf. I don't.
From Torment.
From Torment. How
Yes.
fitting, an enslaved dwarf from Torment. Well, that is in turn 1, but Cold's turn 1 much more impressive.
Oh,
as
wow.
Here comes, we got was it Mana Confluence and a Kinnan into Mox Amber,
Into double green.
double green, using one of it.
Into a Soul Ring.
Soul
Wow.
Ring. That's a lot
Okay.
of mana. I mean, if we
Okay.
have Basalt Monolith, we just doing stuff right now. We got 3 mana. Tapping the energy. Devoted Druid.
Another combo piece.
1 card left in hand for
Wow.
Cole. And this is not at all what I expected to see out
No,
of Tim Thrasios. I expected to
definitely
see
not.
flow, interactive, but no, it's more Secret Kinnan.
Yeah, that was pretty intense right there. You got 2 combo pieces on the board plus acceleration. You gotta love that. It might be a little bit better than a Slave Dwarf, which we do not know the abilities. We're not looking. By the way.
Yeah, who cares? It's a 1 mana
Who
dwarf that
cares? We
attacks.
don't care.
It might be textless. No, okay. You can pair red and sack it, target black creature, gets +1/+0, and gains first strike until in a
Ooh,
turn.
Boost Silas.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, Silas, you can't play that in Magda.
No, but
That's
if you,
part of the
it's a
problem.
little political thing. I get it.
Okay, a little political
Sure,
trick, a little
sure,
onboard political
Little
trick.
onboard
I like
political
it. I like
tricks.
it.
All right.
Ancient Tomb, the follow-up here for Zane. Now, this deck known for a lot of wheels as Rog, nice little artist proof there, going to get deployed. Okay, it's flipped.
Yep,
It's actually a
yep.
transform card. You don't know that.
Yeah.
It's day-night.
You got to
This is
feel
Night
bad
Rock.
if you're Brandon here.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you might not even get a turn.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Here goes Mana Vault. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Each piece of mana that's put on the board, you just feel less likely to get a turn.
And it's not even Rogsai at this point. That's the one that's putting the most pressure. Oh,
There it is. I called it out. I mean, Ancient Tomb. When I see Ancient Tomb and I see another mana source, I immediately start thinking wheels, especially on
Yeah.
these Rog decks. Here it is. Little bit more mana to boot. We got a
Yeah.
bunch of mana floating.
And man, you really have to think about how big Torn Order is here. If Cole is going after Zane, this is just not even close. I mean, this is just
Cat
ridiculous.
swap backup too. Talk
oh
to me.
man. Okay.
And so we're getting a look at the hands as they are discarded. Zane started to draw. Yeah, Magda's showing us some
mountains and
dwarves.
stuff. Yeah,
A flavorful deck. at
sure,
least.
sure. Definitely.
I'll say that. I mean, you got people to play Enslaved
Yeah.
Dwarf and CDH. I respect Magda for that. I don't want people to think I think your
Yeah.
card's a disaster. I just think the deck is linear.
When they legalize alchemy cards and make it so you can have any color identity, put a background on it.
What do you
Jewel
do?
Mine Overseer, conjure 7 dwarves in your deck.
You're in the weeds.
Dwarves
I
draw a
don't even know what the
card
hell
when
you're
you
talking
ETB.
about. You're
That's
just-
okay.
we're gone.
The
We're
people
done.
know. The people know.
People
Where my
know.
arena
I don't
cube
think they
drafters
know.
at?
These people don't arena
Where my cube
They're
drafters at?
CDH players. They would touch arena cube.
That's
at a
true.
tempo.
They don't touch real
I've heard arena
formats.
cube's fine, but like the first time they played
True.
with that stupid 6-mana Grenzo, there's
Oh,
off it. Off
talk
it.
to me, please. That is what I'm talking about.
Miserable.
Chromatic Star,
Chromatic
insane.
Star, the follow-up, not exciting, but something to do with your colorless mana, so
Yeah.
it can't feel too bad.
Yeah.
And now you can launder that last colorless into a colored pip if you want.
I like that laundering. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Actually
we-
stole that from Patrick Sullivan.
That's good.
Straight up. He
That's
uses
good.
that for Manamorphose a lot. I like that a lot.
That's sick.
Uh,
We have a Barkform Harvester too.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
don't
nice,
even know what the cards.
That's a nice little dwarf that puts cards from your graveyard to the bottom of your library from Bloomborough. Was really good in the Squirrel deck. 2/3 Reacher for 3.
You're on top of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Here comes Rog, first play. No land yet here from Brendan. Love that. You know, showing that you do want to represent any of the tricks you might have.
Yeah,
which of course
don't care
includes
about
swap.
days here. Don't need to play around days.
No, sirrees. Here comes a Pentaland. Which one's that one? City Brass?
That is a Exotic Orchard.
Exotic Orchard. You're on top of it as well. What am I even here for?
I know. That's what I'm
Springleaf
saying.
Drum, the follow-up. That's
Okay,
nice. Makes
okay.
Rog make some mana. So we do have a follow-up play as well. Not as much mana as Zane had or Cole, but a
Into a
Soul
Soul
Ring
Ring.
certainly improves things.
Poor Blake here with his enslaved dwarf.
Yeah, and this is really where Magnus starts to look a little
Yeah.
bit weaker than some of the other ways
This
to
is
make
a
mana.
tough
It is a
position.
consistent way to make mana, but I mean, look at what the ceiling looks
Yes.
like here at the rest of the table.
Yeah. We're in some different stratospheres right now. terms of,
Stratospheres, multiple of them.
Yeah, multiple stratospheres.
Polluted ones, oil slicked lands.
Yep.
I'm in the weeds.
Oh, cool. Those are cool.
Cool, I like them, especially since you know what they are. Like it's a mono red
Yeah,
deck.
I mean,
If that was in like a 5-color deck, I'd hate myself.
yeah, Cavern.
Cavern of Souls, a nice one here. Gets the name Dwarf.
I
as
would
it's a
hope
dwarf
so.
deck.
Right.
And Magda Brazen Outlaw now uncounterable, but still, like I said, only 2 mana. Can pick up a third one thanks to the Enslaved Dwarf,
Yep.
which does have some nice attacks.
Yeah.
Rog, notably not great at blocking.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
And
we will
here
see
comes
here.
the beatdowns to free my soul. Treasure going to be made for that.
Little treasure action. Not too bad.
Going to make a rock and roll. Ooh, check these treasures out. What you know about these treasures?
Okay, that's the that treasure right there came as a Patreon supporter bundle with the Professor's Tolarian Academy deck box.
Yeah, he doesn't miss. He doesn't miss. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I got a bunch of those myself.
Yeah, I have
those.
those.
like
I have
deck
those
boxes.
too.
They're nice.
That's one of my
Mox,
favorite
able
deck
to follow
boxes.
up one
Not
of
sponsored.
the
Not
actual
sponsored.
legal Moxen
Yeah,
as it comes down. Now, obviously, only makes red and much weaker when you don't have a cannon.
certainly.
So, but still,
Or a
like I
Rog
said,
Rack.
we're fixing the mana problem. We're
Yeah.
up to 4. A lot more represented next turn, and we're kind of getting towards that artifact threshold. But like I said, in general, when I've watched Magda play, it has really been a deck that wants to go turn 4.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how you can even going first, you could dream of seeing a turn 4.
You know what would be really good
What?
for one of these players here?
What would be
A
good?
Dockside Extortionist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, not really, because then you get booted. You're
Yeah,
gone.
right. You get kicked
They
out of the
call a
tournament.
judge, and that doesn't
Oh,
very
you know,
well.
who needs
Oh,
one?
yeah, who needs it?
Who
Swift
needs one?
reconfig. Here we go. Turn 2.
Infinite mana attempt.
Here.
Wow.
From Cole. Now it's funny to say it's turn 2. He's got 3 lands in play and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's only turn 2. So Tim the Thrasios is beating
Wow.
the slow deck allegations in front of our
I was
eyes.
gonna say, man, I was the slander was real on my end, because here we
yeah,
go.
you were slander. You're not a Tim the Thrasios
I am
fan,
not a
as far
Tim
as I understand
Thrasios
it.
fan.
You don't like any of the decks in this pod.
I'm rog pilled. Oh, I
Okay,
like
you're
rog.
rog pilled. Okay,
I'm
all right,
rog
all right.
pilled all the way. You know, it's disturbing, honestly. Zane's saying, "Are you sure you're targeting this one, not the
I
Kinnan?"
don't think that's what he's saying.
He might.
I think he's explaining that it is not an infinite combo with just Kinnan.
Yeah.
You do actually need to cast the Thrasios. Now that's trivial once it starts happening. So
Yes.
here does come Thrasios, and you have infinite mana to do everything. This is a win attempt. Could go infinite here. Do we have anything? A Rollick here could play with Thrasios in the stack. We're revealing 3 cards out of the hand.
And it looks like that's it.
Uh,
Looking at the top of their lineup.
Yeah, that's over. Yep.
uh,
Players are scooping it up.
uh,
That's it.
So we're just
We
done.
have some scooping. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
We're just done.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like it.
I don't even know what to say. This has been a 5-minute match, including mulligans.
Yeah, this was a quick one. And it's pretty. Who would have guessed TNT winning turn 2 going before Rogside. I certainly wouldn't.
If you could get another pod, that would be spectacular. Thank you. Please do. Please do.
It looks like we're gonna.
It looks like we actually are going to have more Magic for you to cover. I'm actually still just beside myself.
Yeah.
How do you have all of these black decks, these red decks that are known that their primary interaction is removal, and you lost to a creature combo?
Yeah,
on turn 2.
It's crazy.
How did we get here?
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Where is the removal?
Where is the removal? I don't know.
Where are the creatures?
We saw a lot of it in our first pod.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was great. You didn't die on turn 2.
Yeah.
These players.
Where's the Talon Gates?
None of it. Talon Gates. There you go.
Come on. Pay 4, boom, slam it in.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Our beloved judge has recognized our dismay. And we are going to be receiving a different pod here because it is so early. There are some tables that have not actually started playing yet. So
I believe we have
So
some
you're going to
deck
get a little
checks.
double feature, even though we do
Yeah.
not have a backup match for the day. We are going to have a backup match here because there's a pod that's not started playing, so we can just move them. So that's
You gotta love it.
the thing's going. It is really.
You gotta love it.
This highlights the dichotomy of CDH. People, when they talk about CDH, they talk about that stuff. That's all it's
Yes,
about.
exactly.
They're like, that's what every game looks like. And from my experience, those games are incredibly rare.
Yep.
I see those, whatever, maybe once or twice an event max. Those are very rare compared to the average one that goes. I mean, we've had 3-hour finals. And stuff
Oh
like
God.
that before.
Yeah,
So,
we
like,
have.
I mean, in classic CDH is EDH fashion, you have some games that are over way too quick, and some games that go way too
Way
long.
too long.
You know,
Yep.
Commander never beating the finish at a reasonable time allegations. Can't hit
Either
the sweet
way.
spot.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a pot 11 here. We're gonna get exactly what the we're not quite prepared here. I need to figure out what pot 11 even is.
I'm not sure either. It's
Oh.
it's pretty funny too.
Production's on top of it.
You know, when we were getting the stream pod together and we saw that Zane was going to be in the pod with Rograk, we said, okay, this will go fast. Didn't go the fast way I thought it might have.
No, I actually expected Tim and Thrasius to slow some things down.
Yeah.
I really did. I expect
Yeah.
that pod to be quite a bit slower. And like I said, a lot of the stuff going on was based around creatures. I would expect
sure.
removal to have been a big factor in the game, and it just
Yeah.
wasn't. So, yeah, it looks like if my screen in front of me is correct, we're going to have a much slower pod
Much
in front of
slower.
us here, as we have a Tim Necrom first
Possibly
seat,
glacial.
Tivit in second seat, Kinnan in third seat, and then the Rog Thrasios in the fourth seat. So this is interesting, right? Top half of the pod really looking to play a slower, interactive,
Yep.
mid-rangey game. Bottom half of the pod maybe okay with a slower mid-range deck,
Yeah.
but honestly can do both. And that really, I really like, for the first time, really, I like seats 3 and 4 here in this pod.
Yes.
I think they're really well set up
I
into
agree.
the face of this matchup. And even though they are not high on turn order, which is typically very indicative of who's most likely to win,
Yeah.
I actually think the bottom half of the pod here can work together really well. And we saw that kind of happen in first pod, right?
Yeah,
Kinnan and then
absolutely.
things that can clone Kinnan stuff
Yep.
was what it was about. That was what the last pod was about too.
Yeah.
Even the one that went quick. It's just been about Kinnans all day so far.
Yeah, Rog Thrasios seems like it's pretty good here. For me, it seems like White for a long time felt like it was on the uptick. White
Sure.
decks felt like they were kind of coming into their own. And it feels like in the last few weeks post the ban and today that the white decks don't feel like they're there as much anymore as they were. White feels to have taken a kind of a nerf a little bit. I feel like
take
what
a
is
swing at it. I mean,
it could certainly.
I think what that's about
yeah.
is a lot of White's power was in the silence effects, namely
Yes.
Ranger Captain of Eos. Hard to counter, good to hold, and like good to keep in play as an interaction piece.
Yep.
And now, when the metagame becomes about creatures, it becomes about activated abilities. Really, white decks aren't that good at that, right? They're
Yes.
not good at really stopping that. You have
Yes.
some cards that can do it, like the Linvalas. Those are like 4 mana. That's a dedicated stack.
Yeah, yeah.
The stuff that you got to splash in, like the Tim the Crom stuff, like the Silence, even
Yep.
Esper Sentinel. But Ranger Captain of Eos is really the card that I think is emblematic of what happened.
Right.
Ranger Captain of Eos is just a lot worse now.
It just, yeah. I mean, in a lot of pods, it's not what you want to see.
And so
And
here we go. We have
some more mulligans here.
more mulligans. Have to expect to see that. And honestly, this might be one of the pods where like the card advantage from mulliganing does kind of matter,
For sure.
right? Because you're talking about this pod that could very well go long. I mean, you know, more so at least than our last pod. But
Yes.
it is somewhat likely that this pod will go long. And as a part of that, you want cards to matter. You want to have card advantage.
Yes.
And it's going to get overwhelming, but you need to start the snowball. And if you're mulliganing to even like 4 and 5, I mean, that's normally
You're in a
fine
really
in
tough
CDH, but you're
position
in a
here.
tough spot.
Yeah. The actual raw card matters. The raw card count matters a lot here if you can't get something extremely explosive. And these are decks that have that potential. Rock Thrasios, TNK, Kinnan all have that potential, but they're not exactly the best at it
Right.
compared to some of the more, Grixis E options. TNK, yes, a Grixis list, but doesn't generally run the density of rituals. And
So let's play shuffle up. Let me ask you this:
Yes.
Is Teamer the new Grixis?
oh man, that's a tough one. I still think Grixis is Grixis. Honestly, I still think Roxai is still, for me, the best deck in the format
Okay.
until proven otherwise, right?
I mean, what we saw, Rockside just get bodied by Cannons, and we saw Cannons be really kind
Yes.
of the only thing that mattered in the face of a Mardu deck. So sell
Yeah.
me on why are we putting black in our deck
Yeah. Black
over green?
gives you a lot more speed than green. Green gives you a good amount of consistent mana production. Cannon can be fast. What black gives you is rituals. It gives you payoffs and ad nauseum, Bolus of Citadel, Necropotence, which is a card I'm sure we might see today a little bit, depending on what these pods end up looking like. And just insane tutor density. Black gives you a level of threat density that allows your combo packages in decks to be a lot lighter, right? A deck like Rock Silas really is only playing 2 combos. It's really just Breach and Thoracle, and that's all you need because half of your cards are tutors and engines in black that allow you to get to those cards as fast as humanly possible, and then black rituals to propel them out as quick as you can, right? So I think what black gives you is speed. I think black is speed and consistency, and more than anything right now for me.
Okay. I'm going to continue picking on you as these players are still resolving mulligans. So I'm always down. I like my podcast style
Of course.
talking, and we get a rare opportunity to do that here. You mentioned what you get out of green is consistent mana, and then you reference black, you get speed. Is consistent mana not representative of speed in this format?
I think it's a difference between burst versus being able to keep mana on the field long term, right?
Sure.
So green is able to yes, a Birds of Paradise on turn 1 is speeding you up. You are speeding up your curve on turn 2, right? You're going to be able to cast more of your spells. You're going to be able to use more mana, right? Of course,
Right.
You go from 1 to 2. Black, however, is not looking to wait a turn. They're looking to spend 1, make 3, spend 2, make 5. They're looking to get that single burst of mana right then and there and explode out. They're looking to turn that into something that will try to gain them an overwhelming advantage.
I'm getting word that actually a lot of these players kept 7s, but one player is all the way down to a 5.
On
I believe.
4, yes. That's Rock Thrasios, I believe.
Yeah, seat 4. So that's tough. I mean, all the metrics that you typically use to analyze your ability to win the game, they're behind on us. Players are kicking things off. Nick has drawn for turn, so we are kicking things off here. Tim to Crom, anyway, thank you for elaborating on
You're welcome. You're welcome.
the black versus green. I think it's a real conversation players are having right now, so
Yeah,
I think it's worth
it's close,
touching on.
honestly. I mean, no doubt blue is still extremely good.
Whoa, speaking of making mana, or rather not making mana, both
Mana
players at the
confluence,
top,
mana
mana
confluence.
confluence, go. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it?
Take 1, a little loose.
I mean, Tibbet has to be excited there's no dock sides.
Yeah.
Deploy your artifacts. Put them in play. What's the problem?
I believe
You
that
just don't have them?
that's an exotic orchard.
That is an exotic orchard. I believe
Yeah.
that's the Doctor Who exotic
Yes.
orchard. Seen a little bit of that one. Players love these alternate art.
They really do.
frames.
Yeah.
Love it. As here is Polluted Delta. All right, we're fetching. We're going to see some actual plays. Nope, just a Delighted Halfling. I mean, that's at least a mana creature.
Yeah, that's something.
Everybody
There
else
you
just
go.
land go.
The
What
black
is
deck's not
this?
doing anything.
Is this normal, Commander? What am I watching?
It's funny that polluted delta. I'm so standard pilled right now. I was like, is that a restless reef?
Oh my God! Yeah, you got to get it together. Oh well, speaking
Okay,
of
here we
black
go.
equals speed, here comes
Here we
Dark
go.
Ritual.
What do we got? We got a misstep.
4 mana. It's Smothering Tide.
Okay, that is pretty
That is
powerful.
a good one for turn 2
That
for
is
sure.
powerful.
We referenced Tim McCrom, a deck that wants a lot of mana. Smothering Tide produces a lot of mana.
Waiting for to see a little swan song or something of that ilk coming out from Kennen. And no, it just was
No, just land go, no interaction. Enlightened Tutor end step.
okay. All right, sure.
So if you were planning on Enlightening Tutor, you're Andrew on
Yeah.
Tibbet, planning to Enlighten Tutor, and a player plays the Smothering Tide right before you, does that change what you're going to grab?
I don't necessarily think so. If your game plan is you have to draw cards, if you're Andrew, you still have to draw cards. It doesn't change that.
Oh, so you would just grab Remora, Ristic, whatever,
well,
in the face of a tide.
if that's what your hand is built to do, what else are you doing, right? If
Sure.
you have something, and if you have another way to pivot into something else that might be good enough,
the Tibbet pivot.
the pivot, right? Then you have to do it. If not, what the tithe represents is access to a lot of mana for Simnicrom right now, but they have how many cards in hand? 5 cards in hand?
I mean, they all kept 7, so yeah, it's got to be time.
He's got a lot of cards.
It
Yeah,
does find
that
Mystic
is.
Remora.
Listen, that is definitely scary.
It's
Definitely scary, but I just don't know what else you do here. If that's your plan, that's your whole hand, right? I mean,
you talk about in this kind of political game, 4-player like this, you talk about king making, you talk about politics, stuff like that. How is playing a Remora into this Smothering Tithe not just king making?
yeah, I mean, it's a good question, but you have to hope if you're Tivit.
I mean, you
And
can
you
play
have a
just
card
not draw
advantage
cards. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Tivit with a card advantage engine, you might have, and that's your whole game plan. You might have to just gamble that you can have enough interaction and have enough stuff to do to keep the TNK player at bay if they start popping off hard next turn. That's what I think. It's not necessarily. I don't think I necessarily keep hands on Enlightened Tutor.
We could see a quick game here if this
Certainly.
Remora starts getting
no
fed.
doubt.
Now, it does put a lot of pressure on the other players not to feed Remora, but I mean,
You
Nick
have
is
to.
home free. He's happy to feed.
Yeah.
He gets his mana back.
Of
It's free
course.
spells. As here is a cannon.
Okay.
I
Not
mean,
feeding Remora.
it's what the entire tournament's been about thus
Yeah.
far. Doesn't trigger Remora. I like it from Santana here. Andrew, I think this Remora is risky. Does have some mana up for interaction. Got a flooded strand still able to crack. But there's the rebate on Smothering Tithe. 3 treasures already.
I mean, for me, that is a tough for a 7. That's a little bit of a tough 7 for me. Enlightened Tutor into turn 2 for Remora. It's pretty good.
I mean, I keep that 7 in the abstract, but if you see a Smothering Tithe resolve in front of you, do you still grab that exact same card?
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe there's no other options, but I'm just saying, I think that it does certainly, it's going to be a defining feature of this game as it
For
plays
sure.
on from here.
Oh, absolutely. The players are in a tough situation.
There's a non-creature spell Wild Growth card coming
yeah,
for
there
Andrew.
you
No
go.
hesitation there, which will trigger Smothering Tithe up to 4 treasures.
Yeah.
Goes Nick.
Mental misstep. Probably not.
Didn't mental misstep the fish. We're going to mental misstep the Wild Growth is Rog. Seeing
Okay.
play on turn 2. Didn't play on turn 1. Bleeding information
Yeah,
potentially, or
interesting.
is there a reason to wait?
I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, there's not really a reason to wait here, especially
I've seen
going
people against
two white decks.
Bowmasters like want to wait.
Against Bowmasters, but also
Not
you're
a lot
dealing
of
with
that.
Granith. It's kind of the same difference. for
Sure,
me.
sure.
Right.
Well, here comes a
Candelabra.
Candelabra. That is actually mana positive now
Okay.
with the Wild
All
Growth.
right. We're in cooking territory for sure.
We are cooking.
We
I
are
don't know if I've
cooking.
seen a resolved Candelabra in quite some
Not
time.
in a long time.
I mean, it's good with Cradle.
Sure.
Are we doing
Oh, yeah.
high tide
Yeah.
stuff? I mean, I would love it if we were doing high tide stuff.
I don't think so.
I
but
can't
man,
imagine.
I
This-
wish. High Tide Urza, is that back on the menu post ban?
I don't think that's on the menu.
Let's go.
I don't think that's on the menu at all.
I know. I want to eat it though. I'm ready.
You're ready to eat.
I'm ready to
You
eat.
just had some chicken and waffles earlier.
Oh yeah,
Enjoyed
chicken and
that.
waffles.
Okay,
Knock that
well, we're
out.
actually pretty hard on the untapped stuff. We got a Cloud of Fairies
Cloud
in
of
this deck.
Fairies, yeah,
There's
sure.
a combos with that, right?
Yeah, Cloud of Fairies with Cloudstone Curio.
Okay, so you're probably going to find a
Rock
Curio in the deck.
Rog.
I'm
I keep
scrolling.
saying I call Rog.
Yeah,
Rog,
Curio alongside
Yep,
the Candelabra.
yep,
I
no
don't see
doubt.
a high tide. So yeah, no high tide shenanigans.
Oh man, if only. Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
I mean, people used to play it as a ritual.
Turnabout.
Can you believe that?
Turnabout.
Were you around for that?
Oh, High Tide Urza.
No, just high tide in decks. People just
No,
put it in
that might
decks
have been
that had
that might have
islands.
been before my time.
Oh yeah.
That's a little
People
wild.
used to just like play it as like a ritual because it would make like 2 mana. Or
That might be
something. It was
kinda
like
loose.
a blue Rite of Flame or whatever. It was,
Oh.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Here we go. Nick with another with an e-tutor of his own here. Man,
Okay.
I mean,
he's got it all.
Yeah,
I mean, how can you not have it all? Your Smothering Tithe is
Yes.
just getting fed. You had 7 cards in your opening hand.
Yeah.
You're going first.
Yeah.
I mean, everything
it's
coming
over.
up. Nick
It might
here.
be over here. I mean, if you have a, he's looking at a risk study. If you have a Necropotence in your deck,
I mean, you can do whatever you want. You decide
Sure,
to pitch
sure.
this game.
I
You
don't
can
know.
play commanders. You can go for a win. You can wait. You can not. I mean, it doesn't really matter. This is Nick's game to lose. I would
Yeah.
argue from this spot. It
Absolutely.
really feels like whatever happens from here either needs to be an absurd gimmick or it's just there's some decision making that Nick's going to have to go back and
Yep.
watch and be like, okay, what
Yep.
went wrong? Because this from here, I mean, this is what
This
TK
is
wants
tough.
to set up.
Yeah, this
the
is
mana
tough.
is usually the biggest problem, especially with no dockside. Smothering Tides fix that. Now you have a Ristic Study too that you're happy to cast into a Remora.
Oh,
Please
very.
fight over it.
Yeah.
More mana too. Talk to me. So it's just, I mean, like I said, everything coming up Nick here, and you have to like his spot. We'll see if he can close it.
Yeah, this is not looking good if you're Matt or Santana here, or Andrew. It's not really looking good for anybody other than Nick. I mean, Andrew does have a couple cards in hand now, but he got what, 1 card, 2 cards?
Here comes the Ristic Study. That's
Yeah.
going to trigger Remora. No time wasted. Going to draw. That triggers the Smothering Tide.
How about that? Whenever you play a non-creature spell, make a treasure.
I'm pretty sure they ban cards that do that.
I'm pretty
like,
sure.
I have
That
to go back and
that
do
sounds bannable.
That sounds bannable to me.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's got to be something you can point to. It's like, oh, this card sucks, and it kind of does that.
Bergie.
I mean, that card's kind of snapped, right?
Bergie's gas.
Great follow-up
Wow.
here is Professional
Oh my
Face
God.
Breaker. Now, normally this would be a little slow, but we have Smothering Tide.
Yeah.
You have Treasures Abound to sacrifice
Tymna? Okay.
Tymna follow-up, so deploying
Sure,
all the card
sure.
advantage engines shields a little bit down.
What,
but,
we got a Beseju? We got something here? Or, I don't know. Okay.
yeah, I mean, no Beseju from a Esper deck, I can tell
no,
you that.
certainly not.
But we do have Path
Path
to Exile. That
on-
will trigger everything.
Yes.
Card.
What do you path here? I honestly, I think it's a face break.
I'd Path Facebreaker not close.
For sure. Yeah, not even close.
It's
Yeah.
just- okay,
Oh, okay.
well, I'm an idiot.
Maybe not. Maybe where they did.
I don't think it's close. I
Me
think
neither.
Tymna is near irrelevant. I mean,
It
unless
doesn't-
you're specifically going to try to win next turn.
Sure,
And that might
sure.
be a signal here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That you're trying to win next turn and you want to shut off Fierce and SWAT.
Possibly, but also Tivit. I mean, unless he has land, Oracle Consult, it's hard for Tivit to be able to pull that off.
Sure,
in my
I agree.
experience.
I'm just saying, like, that would be a reason.
Certainly. Nick, doubt he has a basic in there, so
Yeah,
no
it's no
search.
basics really in most of these 3 or
Yeah.
more color
Yeah.
commander decks here. So no basics to be found. So, I mean, Path to Exile kind of an upgraded source of postures in that way in a lot of spots. Now, against some decks, it actually isn't. So it's kind of funny to
Yeah.
think about. It's
Well,
not-
I know Rock Thrasios. They're playing. Some of them are playing Earthcraft,
sure.
which is pretty busted. Earthcraft also with
Abandoned Legacy.
Valley Floodcaller.
Right. Tap, untap, tap.
Tap
yeah.
on tap. That's a lot of mana, and Enduring Vitality too in that list as well. You got a lot of ways to kind of do some shenanigans.
Well, here's a Mox of some kind. I believe that is
Opal?
Opal. That sounds
Which-
correct. So we just Opal. I didn't know if we triggered. We might have paid for the.
It looks like they.
They paid for the Ristic study, so we did pay for that.
Oh man, this is a really tough.
Another treasure coming
opener
on
here.
draw step here as Santana takes a draw step. Now, like I said, Santana, I mean, I don't love framing it this way, but it's kind of what's going on here. Hasn't done anything wrong.
No.
They've just
No.
kind of just played a land, played cannon,
Yeah.
like trying to play a good, I'll say wholesome game
Very
of
wholesome, for sure.
CDH.
Yeah.
And now the top of the table is just feeding each other and it's just a mess. So what are you looking for if you're in the bottom of the table? How do you proceed?
Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. You really need a way to get the Smothering Title off the board. You have to answer these
Yeah,
draw
that'd be great.
engines. You might just have to jam if you can. I
Well,
mean,
normally your plan's creatures, right? Because like Ristic
Yeah.
Core doesn't trigger off creatures, so you can just like put creatures in play, and then you're good. But Ristic Study does actually draw off of creatures, so like
Yeah.
that's not even really an attractive plan either.
honestly, the issue here is it's never getting better no matter what you do.
Well, how about Trophy Mage? That's a pretty loud
That's
signal.
yeah. I mean,
It's a creature, only triggers one thing, so Ristic card coming
Man.
for Nick, the T&K player. Does have only 2 mana, so no opposition agent on the table right now.
certainly in the books.
But yeah, I mean this is tough, and we do find the Basalt Monolith. Again, this represents a win attempt. I mean, if your hand's all
Yeah.
counter spells, maybe
Yeah.
you can punch through, but it's a tall ask.
It's going to be
against two
really
draw
hard.
engines.
I mean, and that Facebreaker right now represents 2 cards.
If you had more time, I would argue that you're supposed to be doing like Kennen and Thrasios activation stuff. But I mean, like I said, you just don't really have
You don't have the
time
mana-
as this
you don't have the
mother
mana
guy
for
that's
it.
getting fed.
Yeah.
You don't have mana, you don't have time, you don't have anything. And that's normally the bottom of the table. The reason I liked them going into this match was that they had those options. They had the options to come out the gates hard, or they really thrive in long
Yeah.
games. In this particular configuration, the way that the top of the table's set up here, you're not really set up well to grind. You just don't have the time. They're
Yeah.
going to spend more mana than you, quicker than you, and that's what CDH is about. Who spends the most mana is usually who wins.
The most efficiency, certainly. And here you got to really think if you're Santana. Another problem here with the play is he has 3 lands. Even if he goes land drop next turn, Basalt Monolith, you don't have enough to activate Kinnan. You need 2 colors. And even then, you really need to be able to find the mana to play Thrasios, Mana Vault. I'm not even
Yeah,
really
the treasure
sure.
vault, like we saw from Evan.
Yeah,
in
treasure
round
vault
two,
would do it too.
I mean, that's a land out of hand, so that that would be an easy way to solve it. But you're right. It's not just the basalt model.
It's not simple here.
That's not just how to do
Yeah,
it.
it is. He does not have a simple path to getting this game over and done with, even if he gets back to his turn, which is looking more and more dubious by the second. And a throwing
Here we
Myco
go.
Spawn.
We'll taste the modern here. I believe we're actually
Okay.
worldly tutoring for sowing Myco Spawn.
Okay.
What
All right.
are we doing with
Alrighty.
that? Why are we
Alrighty.
doing this?
So sowing Myco Spawn is going to get us Gaia's Cradle,
Okay.
which is going to be very good with Candelabra of Tanos and
Yep.
a Wild Growth up Tropical Island.
So we're kind of lauding this into a crop rotation of some
Yes.
kind.
I wonder, and this is just a little bit of speculation, maybe
Okay.
the cook in me. I wonder if you kick it. I wonder if you kick it in exile the TNK's Mana Confluence, or
just blow up land, boom,
yeah.
thank you.
I mean, honestly, well, he has an infinite mana. Maybe you just hit Santana's land. I don't know why. It's kind
No
of
shot, you're
rude.
supposed to go for Santana
A
here.
Tivit, just smack off it.
Yeah, Tivit. I mean, it's also. I mean, this should be a 3-1,
He has a-
but
he has
it
a
feels
fish,
like
too.
it feels like Tivit is
Yeah.
helping. It feels like Tivit's
right.
helping the TNK player.
Tivit has a fish too, so you snap off one of his lands, exile his Mana Confluence. He
give
has
it
to
a
tap
taste.
out. He just taps out next turn if he wants to keep it around. You're kind of incentivized to do that a little bit. Oh,
I don't think you want to. I mean, you just need the 4 mana. Bowmasters here coming down. This is a big one here for Andrew. That's
Wow.
actually going to start to finally solve some problems in this board. Now, if he goes after the bottom half of the table, then you're still just helping Nick.
Yeah.
It is the most attractive, right? Because the things actually die
yep.
to the Bowmasters triggers. But, I mean, that's just not what the game's about.
No, I don't believe so either.
I
This,
think we are going to go after the Rog here, unfortunately.
yeah, I mean, it makes some level of sense. It's just the easiest target. You know you're going to snap it off, but it is tough. I mean, Bowmasters 2, this is a card that has seen a resurgence certainly after the bans with the prevalence of the creature-based strategies. And first time seeing it today, I highly doubt it's our last, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about that as a draw to black, but like
Yeah.
if everyone's going creatures, you can kind of jive where they juke, zig where they
Definitely.
zag, and pick up your Bowmasters, pick up some black removal spells, toxic deluge, things of that
Yeah.
nature, and then you're breaking it open, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yep.
kind of doing it.
Yeah.
And
We
wasn't clear
will
where
see.
that actually went. We might have actually just hit Nick's face, which I love.
That sends a message for sure.
Yeah.
Won you. Bam. Draw a couple more cards, see what happens. Boom, boom, boom.
And I believe now that was in response to the Ristic draw off the Sowing Myco spot, which
Yep.
of course we cannot pay for.
Yes.
So, that Sowing Myco spawn, I believe, still in the stack, but I think there's a cast trigger as well. So we have a little
It
active
is
and inactive
it is a
stuff.
cash trigger, yes.
Right.
Yep.
Because the Eldrazi. So we are going to, the Sowing Myco spawn doesn't need to resolve
Nope.
to get the Cradle. So that's a nice little upside, but it does need to resolve if you want Cradle to make 3 mana.
Yes. Little consigned to memory action. Where are we looking on that, huh?
Sign the memory. I mean, Modern, again.
Yeah.
This is a replay of Modern. I actually did
Yeah,
Modern
yeah, right,
coverage
right.
last weekend and saw a
There
lot
you
of
go.
that. And,
There you go.
speaking of Junior, we're jiving. Last weekend saw some Modern coverage. Everyone was picking up their spell snares to solve some of the problems there.
Okay,
Picking up
okay.
their, like you mentioned, consign to memory.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the whole tournament was just won by this Belcher deck with Tameshi in it. Because they literally, you can't counter.
Oh, the
Force
Belcher?
Negation doesn't get
We're
it.
talking Monobu Belcher?
Force Negation doesn't
Or
get it.
Azorius
Consign to memory
Belcher?
doesn't get it. Spell
Okay,
snare doesn't get it.
okay.
There was literally a player that had all 3 of those in hand and
All
died
right.
to Tameshi.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah, sick. Anyways,
That's
yeah,
pretty awesome.
it's emblematic of just because the best cards doesn't mean you can't find an out. You
Certainly,
can't find something
certainly.
that jukes, and maybe this is part of it. Here's Candelabra untapping the tropical island that has wild growth on it, so that's a little mana positive.
Yeah, there you go. 2.
And the Cradle. So we had a green floating too. You see represented
Okay.
there. Going to use that for Thrasios alongside.
We have an activation
blue.
up and in 1 card in hand. It looks like that's the game plan right now for Matt.
This is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned how you don't really have time. You don't have the mana. This solves the mana.
Certainly.
And if you can get
Odawara land for turn.
Yeah, because we haven't played the land. We got
Yeah.
that Cradle through the Sully Myco spawn. So yeah, a little bit extra interaction.
You know
too.
what? I might have just held that Odawara.
You think?
I have just a
You
ton
can't
of,
channel it.
There's just a million amounts. Now you can't.
You
But-
could before.
I don't know, but I'm saying
Oh,
later
you're
in the
saying
game.
future. You think later in the game's gonna? I mean,
It could. What is the one? What is the
I'm
one
trying
that
to live
do
the
for you?
turn cycle, man. I
Fair,
don't think that's
fair.
guaranteed. This guy drew like 6 cards and
I
has
guess so.
infinity.
I guess you do have the possibility of
has to be an
spiking a
Infinity
Swan
Stein.
Song or
Is
something.
he
or another. I
stopping
don't
drawing?
know.
No. Okay, we're still drawing. Yeah, Lotus Petal, Infinity Sign goes
Sure.
up.
Yeah.
You mentioned no mana crypt. Lotus Petal's not mana crypt.
No,
There you
but the Lotus Petal here not only makes you 1 mana, it makes you 2 mana
go. Yeah, exactly what just
Yeah.
happened. So
for 0. It's pretty good rate, I would say.
that's odd. Here comes Ranger Captain of Eos, the card we were just dunking
yeah,
on. Saying
well,
doesn't really do a lot.
It is pretty good when you play it on your turn before a win attempt. I will say that for sure.
Sure, still does the silence.
Yeah, certainly does.
thing.
Certainly
And Odawara
does.
would get around it. Now, again, we couldn't channel it, but would have been something that could have gotten around it.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah. Matt thinking, should I have gotten my Ugin's Labyrinth?
Finding a 1, and it's Mockingbird is the one. This is a nice
Oh.
new play after Bloomborough.
Okay.
Can't make this one
Okay.
beforehand. Now, Mockingbird kind of adding, I'll say, to the clone problem
Yes.
in CDH. I don't even know if you want to call it a problem, just the clone metagame.
These days, I think the clone metagame's over without Dockside. to be
We've seen
honest.
nothing but games resolved with a bunch of clone.
That's true.
Evan Pierce has played clever impersonator in his deck.
Yes,
And you're
that's
calling for
true.
the end of the clone meta? I don't buy it.
Fair
As
enough,
here comes a
fair
clone
enough, fair enough.
being played here by Nick. Now, not sure what the best thing to copy actually is. Probably Bowmasters.
Honestly, Kinnan with Smother and Tithe is ridiculous. Kinnan with Smothering Tide
Oh, sure. Just sets off your mana.
is just ridiculous. And not only that,
I mean, you don't have a mana problem. You have a I need to answer these creatures problem.
sure, you also could just, I guess, activate it. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing.
If I want.
If you
Everything's a human.
Sure, sure.
And yeah, so we did actually copy Bowmaster, so we did pick off Andrew's Bowmasters, and that's actually great because that's really the only problem Nick still had, as we're spending 5 mana to redeploy Tymna.
Wow. Okay, sure.
Like, you have the mana to spend.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if that mana might be better spent just cracking a treasure. Professional
To
Facebreaker.
look for some cards to
Sure.
Facebreaker. I don't hate it.
You know?
I don't hate it. I mean, you kind of get those cards back this way, right? 'Cause
Yes,
you get to attack,
certainly.
you get,
And you get a
a
creature.
treasure, and
Yeah.
then you get a Tymna card as well. So it kind of all works out. Get a little bit of rebate on mana, a little bit of rebate on cards.
Well, we'll see what
And it's
Nick
not
has
face up.
here.
That's a big problem with the
Yes.
Facebreaker plan.
Fair,
The
fair.
better is a Hail Mary. As we do move the active player here back over to Andrew, we got a trigger on the stack of Mystic Remora. Looks like we might want to do something in response before we do decide if we want to second or not. Nope, just gonna pay.
Yep. Response, I'll pay.
Response, I'll pay. It's Hydromorphic Pool tap. Still have mana Confluence up, but not a lot of mana to spend this turn. That Mox Opal not active. And, I mean, this has just been a glacial start for Andrew, which is fine normally
Yeah.
with Mystic Remora, but, I mean, Nick is just outperforming you on every metric.
Yeah, this is a tough Remora game here. Smothering Tide turn 2 into your turn 2 fish is just from there it just was off the rails. We have a little Hollowed Fountain slamming down here.
Yeah, this is a 3v1, and I'm still not sure even at 3v1 Nick can lose this.
I don't think so. It's hard to imagine.
You're gonna have
what
to
happens.
find a way. Like that's what the conversation is. It's
Yeah.
not, oh, maybe you will, maybe you won't. It's like, no, he basically has this locked up. But we're at the Lantern control lock. We're gonna play 10
Yeah.
more minutes of Magic, maybe 20.
Yeah.
And then he'll win. But like, because there's no rush. He's in a
Right.
rush in this game, and who knows what the composition of the interaction of the other player's hands actually is. As here is Savine's Reclamation.
And hit in the graveyard, yeah.
Discarded to hand size.
Yeah, I mean-
so we untapped the hollow. We played an untapped hollow fan past Hollowed Fountain, past the turn. And no plays beyond that. So
Yeah.
we just paid proficient pass.
I guess so.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
Well, we know about a Basalt Monolith. So what do you have for us,
Right.
Santana?
Right. And does the Basalt Monolith really do anything?
I don't want to play it even. I don't. But once again, what's your path to victory? Do you just jam?
Yeah. I guess so.
How many silence effects do you have? I mean, you have like the Kamigawa creature,
The Kamigawa Dosen?
Dosen.
Well, it doesn't. There's a Ranger Captain Bios.
Does
Is
that
what,
mean-
is what you're saying once you start going?
Yeah,
Or-
you just find Thrasios, draw your whole deck, and then
Oh, I
Thoracle
see.
gets it. So
Sure,
you don't
sure.
actually need to cast any
Yep.
non-creatures after Basalt Monolith.
Yes.
So it could potentially work, but I do like the patience here.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I think we're still thinking here.
I believe Matt is.
Oh, we paid for Smothering Tide and passed.
Oh wow.
Woof.
That is
Whole lot of nothing on
that
the right
is-
side of the table.
that is rough. We have some rough.
But what are you
stuff going on here.
supposed to do? Like,
Maybe-
any way you move, you're either giving them mana, you're giving them cards. Like,
You know what you might be supposed to do?
how do you get out of this?
You might got to keep a hand. You might got to mulligan that hand.
Which one?
The one that goes turn 2 Kinnan, turn 2 Trophy Mage, and nothing else.
In the blind? You're
I'm
mulling
going third. Maybe. I don't know.
It is a little slow, but I mean, look at the table. If
Sure,
your-
sure, sure.
If your pregame thoughts
But on a
really
7?
would have gone, I mean, it doesn't look good now. I'll give
It
you
does
that.
not look good now. I mean,
does
but,
not look
you
good
know,
right
like,
now.
everything in retrospect, right? But ooh, man, we are in some rough territory right now. Matt just has as much mana as you could ever.
Yeah,
want.
man, Matt's actually doing great, right? Ton of mana. I believe that's a Cloud of Fairies.
Okay, sure, more mana. Why
So
not?
we can, with the trick of the stack, we can actually float some mana here, and I imagine we're going to be doing that with Gaia's Cradle. Yeah, I think that's what we're indicating right now. You can target the lands, I believe, and then float mana,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
do what you want to do. So this is a very mana positive. This is a ritual.
Yeah, I believe that's Legacy, right? Or is this Legacy?
Or is
Cloud
it
of
Legacy?
Fairies? Yeah.
Cloud of Fairies, yeah.
Yeah, pretty good with a couple cards.
Wasn't
in
it like
that set.
banned in Pauper at one point?
Yes. Yeah.
Busted.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, untap your Academy, untap your Cradle.
I don't know if you do that in Pauper, but
Well, I'm proper, probably not. You probably would have a pretty tough time
pretty
playing
good
it
here
with
on
the
tapping
judges.
Cradle, untapping
Yeah,
the Wall Growth.
okay.
Kind of a tale as old as time. I mean, I did some of this when I was playing like the Thrask Krark High Tide stuff. and
Yeah.
this is also quite strong. As here is Talon Gates of Madara.
Ooh.
Okay, that's not a 0. We get
Wait.
that off the Thrasher's activation, get a little bit more mana, and we get to pick something to phase out.
Honestly, depending on what he has in hand, Matt might just go for the Ranger Captain to try to feign.
I'm going on for something on Nick's board.
Yes.
I ain't touching
Yeah.
anything else.
Well, even if Nick has nothing, you can kind of force him to make the decision now to sack the Ranger Captain or not if you target it. I doubt he will, honestly.
No,
But-
yeah, I wouldn't. You're getting your turn next.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So unless you have a win attempt, maybe going after something on Nick's board doesn't even matter.
Yeah. But honestly, I mean,
Mockingbird.
Matt does have a ton of mana. Matt has a ton of mana with that Candelabra too.
And that Mockingbird was a Kennen, I believe, right?
The Mockingbird
No, it's a
was
Bowmaster.
a
So
Bowmaster. Oh, so yeah, that makes sense with the activation.
yeah, but you would have to activate like now, which leaves you tapped out.
Yeah.
Is that something we want to do?
Maybe. There's a Ranger Captain, so your window is closing exponentially.
You say a window's closing. I don't know that I've seen a window this entire
Well, that's
game.
what I mean. If there ever was a window, if a window was something that existed in the dark little box that is
Yeah, this is
your positioning
solitary
game.
confinement. This is an American prison.
if there's a sliver of a crack in the cement,
or a school, whichever you happen to be looking at.
sure.
Just no windows.
If there's a sliver in the crack in the cement somewhere, this is it. This is it.
Crack in the cement.
This is it. There's
You're
nothing
peeking
else.
through the cinder blocks.
Yeah.
Trying to find anything at all.
This is it.
Here comes Candelabra, so we got more untapped land tricks. Those have looked good.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how often this comes together, but it's looked good. I mean, the
Yeah,
5 mana,
sure.
6 mana untapped stuff, like pretty strong to me.
This looks like a cube deck. I'm pretty sure I've built this deck in cube. Honestly.
Stop.
Utopia Sprawl. Boom.
Oh,
Candelabra.
Wild Growth, yeah. Been
Well,
doing that
I know,
since
but I'm
Alpha.
just
What you know
saying.
about Wild Growth?
Yeah. Well, not in the cube. Notably.
Not in the cube. No.
Not in the
Utopia
cube.
Sprawl in the cube.
In the cube.
the
Yeah, that's
cube.
why.
Okay.
I'm
They
one
fixed
track
it.
minded. They fixed it.
I don't know that I've ever enjoyed playing a Utopia Sprawl deck.
Me neither. Me neither.
Every time someone's just like doing the most miserable thing you've ever seen in your entire life with that, I don't understand. Can we do something cool with
Yeah.
Utopia Sprawl?
Yeah.
I don't understand. All right, so we did activate Thrasios, got a little look. I think that's what we did, right? I saw some cards moving around.
I have to think. It doesn't seem like he has anything else.
But it
going
wasn't
on.
really clear what was done or cast. I was also just yapping about Utopia Sprawl, so this could 100%
Sure,
be on
sure.
me.
We're all over the place. I mean, once you watch enough mid-range green mirrors, you start kind of
You're not into
you
this?
start losing it a
You're
little
not
bit.
into this? Talk to me. Come on. People talk about how CDH is too fast. We need more of this. I don't even know what that wall of text is.
I don't. That might be Machine God's Effigy.
I buy it.
I believe
So
that's
that
Machine
has
God's
like a lot of
Effigy.
combos in this deck. I saw Sam Black mentioning you could do like some infinite combos with Devoted Druid with
Yes,
this thing.
Devoted Druid. It does go infinite. Makes infinite blue.
Is that the only card? What are we doing here? Getting a
here,
Bowmasters?
Here, that could.
No, we can't. We phased it out.
Yeah, I mean, it only. Does it remain that creature? It might. I think it remains
Let's
that
get the
creature
text box
forever.
that Machine God's effigy. You and me both. Let's get this.
That's all. Let's see who gets it first.
Oh, I'm already on the thing, so if I lose, it'd be pretty embarrassing.
I got it.
Here we go. I got it. All right.
I said it first.
All right, fine. Enter. So it's a clone. So you clone
It's
meta.
a clone. It's a
gone.
permanent clone.
Enters the battlefield as a copy of a creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact and has tap for a blue.
Yes.
It also just has tap for a blue.
Yes. So I believe we're
Great
just looking
template.
at a Ranger Captain of Eos here.
I don't hate that at all.
No.
Ranger
no.
Captain of Eos, I think that is actually something that meaningfully
Stops
disrupts Nick. Yeah,
Nick
I
cannot
agree.
win through a Ranger Captain of Eos.
Love it.
Just functionally can't.
So I mean, we're making some progress. I mean, really, Matt, I feel like is the only one. I don't
putting up a fight.
playing the
here.
game.
Yeah, putting
like
up a fight.
the other two players are just like paying for smothering
Yeah,
guys, paying
yeah.
for missing remorse. They're in a traffic jam.
They're in a real
They're
tough spot.
not moving anywhere
Yeah.
fast. Whereas Matt is like making real progress. Now, of course, it is still drawing Nick cards. You see quite a few cards in hand. We see a bunch of mana, 5 mana over there. Nick is still very ahead, extremely
Yep.
ahead. But you mentioned, the crack in the cinder blocks. I think Matt's opening something up.
Yeah,
here.
he's getting a little bit of traction going. So we'll see if it can stick, and what Nick has to answer that.
What's
It's-
the movie where he like dug out with
Shawshank?
spoons? Yeah, Shawshank Redemption.
Matt's in the sewer right now.
Yeah, he's
For sure.
digging his way up.
Ooh, a Tameo.
Ooh, a Tameo
We got some
follow.
spice.
I've seen a bunch of Tameos. Are we just missing on that card? Yeah, we saw one pitch to a Chrome Mox round 1.
No, that
and-
was a hydroelectric specimen.
You're right, it is. I'm just
Yes.
a giant idiot.
Another MH2
But I have
card,
seen
MH3
other
card.
Tameos. I don't know. I've seen multiple Tameos in the deck list we
Yeah, I
pulled
can
up.
see it. I can see
Are we
it.
missing this card in CDH?
I mean, it certainly. I did go undefeated in a draft with it yesterday in a Luris deck.
Okay, I would like
by
to
the
mention
way.
it's a little bit better in draft than it is.
It certainly is. Yeah, Spring Hard 9 Tuco tokens. You got a bunch of 1/1s. Those don't do anything. I'm going to draw half my deck. Okay, sounds good. Tameo is pretty good. It makes clues, which are not a problem with Dockside anymore.
Does it do anything when you flip it?
When you flip it, yes. Well, the plus
In
2.
here? Yeah.
The plus 2 is you shrink everybody's board by 1. Doesn't really matter.
Half Jace Architect plus.
Yes. The
First
the
boomers.
minus 2 is return a instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand.
Okay.
And if it's a green card, you make a mana of any color.
Ah, so good with like Worldly Tutor, for instance.
Very good with Worldly Tutor.
Okay.
And it also allows you to just recur counter magic, recur, whatever spells you.
Not awkward to flip this deck, though. I mean, I guess Thrasios can sometimes.
Yeah, you certainly can draw cards.
Yeah, it does
would
draw.
hope, right?
Here is Crom added to the mix.
Okay.
Nick, very, very patient.
Okay.
This reminds me a lot of like the Brian Koval's approach
Yeah, it also is a blocker. That also just blocks Crom.
Yeah, we were low on those.
We were low.
Oh,
on
you're
those.
talking about Tameo blocks?
Yeah,
Crom?
I'm talking
Not
about-
well. It's an 0-3, right?
Yeah, but it still just stops the card from being drawn, I guess, suppose.
I mean, I just talk somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's hitting him with Crom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, sure.
Boom. Yeah, I
There's
mean,
not a lot of blockers in this board state that you want to actually use.
yeah,
I think really Santana the only one with any real blocking decisions.
for sure.
But I mean, for the first time today, with this game's kind of about the creatures on the table and attacking and blocking.
Yeah. No, we're seeing some real stuff happening here with the combat. Santana maybe he just wants to put that trophy mage in the graveyard, get to that threshold of the Sunlit Solitude.
I don't think that's high. I don't think that's high on the priority list. All right, so we're gonna draw 3 cards. The full
Oh, wow, they just- everyone
max
took
stem.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
nobody blocked.
Okay.
Like I said, I really think there's only one decision to block or not.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have. I mean, a bunch of mana still to work with. So like, the world is Nick's oyster. Let's see what we
The
got.
one ring for Nick. Okay.
He's got Manamo, so we can actually double up.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of a spicy include for Tim.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's near free too, right? Like sometimes
Yeah.
Timbercrown used to be like an island or whatever for like the
Yeah.
random like pass and stuff. Getting a utility land, I mean, I believe that's a Manamo in play. You can just double up on the ring, untap your Croms and stuff
For
to
sure.
attack and block. Not a 0 at all in this deck.
So it looks like Nick just hit the Cloud of Fairies with the Remora trick off Andrew, which is smart. Cloud of Fairies is a combo piece in that deck.
Sure, yeah.
That is an infinite
I mean,
mana.
it's just clearing out this board, clearing out blockers. I mean,
Yeah.
what you want to be doing with your Bowmasters for sure. Remember that Mockingbird there on Nick's side of the battlefield is a Bowmasters.
Flying
As if he needed
Bowmasters.
more just broken stuff
Yeah.
going on. I mean, really just has the full all-star cast of CDH players. I've seen a lot less professional Facebreaker, I guess, recently, but looks incredible
yeah.
here.
Yeah, I mean, well, with the combo with Smothering Tide, it is in a good spot.
Yeah, I would call that a combo. I mean, it
Yeah.
used to be fine with Dockside, now no
Split it for a
Dockside.
basic
It's basis split.
Yeah.
I mean, they both, you got a 3-drop, you got a 4-drop.
Boom.
One's a
Boom,
creature,
boom.
one's an enchantment.
Easy.
I mean, it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
No
Might as well be.
changes. Free twin or whatever. And yeah, I mean, we're going to see if he wants to. He doesn't have to do the one ring draws now if he does not want to.
No, I mean, he has access to infinite mana, infinite cards right now. It's just the Risk Study, the One Ring, Smothering Tide. He has everything you could ever want. I think the only thing stopping him from just winning the game, other than maybe being flooded out with Archivist of Ogmas or whatever TNK plays, whatever terrible creatures they love to jam in their decks.
You just hate every deck that isn't Roxanne.
Oh man, I kind of do. You might have pegged me on that
I
one.
think
I'm a hater. I'm a little bit of a hater.
honestly, I don't meet many CH players that just hate Tim Necrom. Most of the players see it and they're kind of excited
I don't
to see it
hate
at the
Tim
table.
Necrom. I played it for a long time. I just think it runs a lot of like dorky stuff.
It can. People like to put some nonsense.
People
in it.
like to put a
I think
lot of
it's a testament how good the deck is.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's the thing.
you can just put garbage in it.
You
It's
could
fine.
just put 10 pieces of fluff. Just,
yeah, it
just
doesn't matter.
do nothing.
The rest
you
of your
know?
deck's so good.
Exactly.
I mean, Roxanne, you can't do as much of that. You draw those unplayable cards once on your multi 5 and you look embarrassed.
Yeah. Like your last card in Rockside, yeah, you throw the Chromatic Star in there, throw the, Tiny Bones, the Burglar in there, whatever. And it just doesn't really matter all that much, but, it matters more. There's more of a core that everyone's
we're-
agreed on.
Andrew finally deciding it's time to do something. So Demonic
Okay.
Tutor is going to kick things off. And of course, that comes with the typical card for Nick, as he does not have to pay for his Ristic Study. Now, notable that Mr. Gamora off the board. That's done.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't even know what Andrew could be getting
I
here.
think that's a Manamo for Andrew, too. Just Manamo
It is. Yeah,
across
we
the
have a
board.
lot of Manamos
I mean, we
out
mentioned
here.
a spicy incline. Maybe it's just a part of CDH now, right? Like all these one rings.
Maybe. TNK's mana is already so bad. Putting a mono blue land, I'm assuming he still has Oduwara in the deck too.
Yeah, I think
Having-
we saw it in hand.
Having 2 mono blue lands
If you
is
adjust
really
your
tough.
spells to be more blue, it's doable.
Certainly.
You do have to respect it. Now, I don't know that we did respect it.
I,
but
the way that CDH mana bases are built, I have a little bit of trepidation to say anybody's respecting it. Also with a training center. Hold up. Actually, wait. Let's take 2 seconds here and just evaluate Nick's mana base here. So sure, Mana Confluence makes sense. Underground Sea makes sense. Training Center. Is it check land? Is it opponent land? Battle Bond land?
Yeah, battle land, yeah, whatever you want
The
to call it.
Manamo, mono blue, and then Exotic Orchard is fine.
Yeah, we still cast
people
Ranger
like
Captain
it.
just fine, so
Sure.
no problems there.
I know it's pretty.
It's
outstanding.
called good
to me.
deck building, I hear.
I suppose so. Training Center's not one I see a lot in these TNK lists. Makes sense though.
You need something that taps for blue and red, it does that.
Makes sense though.
I mean, we can roast his mana all he wants. He's got like 6 charges to play.
Oh
with
no,
some other times,
that's the
so
thing. The mana does
no
not matter.
mana problems.
When
But
you-
I mean, you are highlighting something real. Like Tim Necrom
Yeah.
has a lot of mana issues, and you know, that does put a lot of pressure on what lands you include, as Gaia's Cradle number 2 has hit the board. A
Oh,
big
okay.
stonks increase after the
Okay.
bans.
And you have to remember, Satana does have a Basalt Bomb in hand.
Right, has had
That's
it
gotten
since
lost
that
in the
Trophy
fray.
Mage result. I mean, it's easy to forget, except there's a Trophy Mage still in play.
Right, right.
Kind of indicative of what's going on there. 2 mana coming from the Cradle. Is it Monolith time? I feel like the spot isn't getting much better. Glenalendra.
We're in here for the long run, folks.
Jeez.
This game is not ending soon.
You were talking about Cube a second ago. This card's not even in the Cube anymore.
No.
That's
no.
where things are at with that. I mean, I love it.
V-Click?
I know a little bit about V-Click.
You know a little bit about that?
I know a little
Okay.
bit about Glenalendra, too.
Oh, man. Forget if
Card was
Grokkus
a
was legal.
dealer in
Oh,
the
yeah.
old vintage Cube.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I mean, was a dealer for a period of time in like Kennen decks in CDH.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
like Ranger Captain, though, its stock really has kind of gone down.
You know, I think the thing is, we've just been seeing less and less of Kinnan pre-ban. Kinnan was on a downslope for a while, right?
Okay.
And so I think it fell off a little bit. I think people were tweaking Kinnan, trying to find a way to make it relevant again in the faster meta. And now that things have slowed down, it seems like
Yeah, they gave it to you. Yeah, I mean, Kennen
Yeah.
really looked like it was losing out to Nadu, actually, which
Yes.
also got banned.
Yes.
So your primary competition and some of the best cards that your opponents were playing,
Right,
all
right.
gone. Now, Kennen looking great and has looked great all day. It's been about Kennens all
definitely.
day long.
I've seen a lot of Kinnans on board.
Going to see a lot of MH3 cards, I guess, from this Thras Rog deck, as we do have Sowing Myco Spawn in play. That's got a little glare to it.
Make a little
and here
clue.
comes Tamio Beatdowns for
Okay.
0.
All right. Take 0.
I'm not sure I can really describe to you how much I hate the design of this 0 power card that like doesn't grow in combat. Like you see that with some of them where it's like
Yeah.
it grows based on the amount of things you have in play and gets power when it attacks. So there's like a calculation to be done. This is just like, no, go attack with your 0 mana thing and you get cards
You
for
get
it.
cards for it. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. It's tough. And also being a flyer, like there's a lot of
It's like, oh yeah, sweet, you have your evasion on your 0-3. Like what?
Right. Right.
What?
In a lot of places, this card just doesn't get blocked. You just can't block it. You just gotta.
Just have it say
Bolt
on
it,
combat on your turn.
discharge
There's
it.
in a Phyrexian arena that triggers on combat on your turn.
Unholy Annex.
Why are you making me go through the motions of attacking and blocking with a fucking oath?
How about that one? Unholy Annex. You think we're gonna see that one?
I know a
You
little bit about
card?
that one. Yeah, a little.
Oh, yeah.
The Dignia for 2. That one's apparently a standard all star.
Oh my god, that's the deck I've been playing in standard. Make a little demon, little 6/6 flyer. Draw 2, gain 2. Everyone loses 2. My god, put that in my my cup. I'm take a drink.
While we're reminiscing, so we have cracked the
clue.
the clue,
Yeah.
which actually, I mean, that brings us closer to flipping Tammy if it's the thing you actually want to do.
Yeah.
You have a lot of mana to work with, right? We still have the Candelabra. We still have this tropical island and this guy's cradle.
you know-
Make a bunch of mana.
Yeah.
You got mana to work with. Now, can you punch through whatever Nick's holding? The stack
Right.
just gets bigger. Every time he shovels his hand like that, the stack just keeps getting
Yeah.
bigger. Can you punch through?
Here, what we do know is we have a Worldly Tutor in the graveyard.
Sure.
You do have plenty of mana to go. Like, if you could draw another card, make a Thrasios activation after your Worldly Tutor, draw a creature. You have a little bit of mana left over that post Candelabra, but you know it's a little weird. It's a little tricky. I'm not really sure what the game plan is here for Matt, but we'll see.
I mean, we've seen before combos that involve creatures punch through board states like this.
Yes, for sure.
So that's something that I imagine Matt is trying to assemble. And Worldly Tutor, to your point, does contribute to
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
You can draw the
Definitely.
card with Thrasios, all that stuff. Now, that is a ton of mana.
Yes.
So we'll see.
If Cloud of Fairies is still on the field, something like a Baron Master Wizard that allows you to
Yeah,
link that Cloud of Fairies. You have plenty of mana in terms of being able to pay for the Ristic. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of stuff that could happen here. It just depends on what Matt's game plan is.
Well, we're drawing with
activating
Thrasios.
Thrasios,
Now, that
sure.
does sometimes trigger Southern Tide, sometimes trigger Tamio. Flare of Denial.
That's a good
That's
one.
a nice one. Yeah, that's a big
good
pickup.
one to have. Okay.
You mentioned 0 better
Yeah.
than any mana.
Yeah.
And Flare of Denial, a great one in these Thrasios decks. Really like Kennen, any of these 2 mana commanders. Love
Yeah.
to see that one for
Flip
Modern Horizons 3.
Tamio here.
And Matt not beating the Modern Horizons 3 allegations at all.
Yeah, I believe
all
we should.
cards.
I believe we should have a Tamio flip.
Yeah, we drew a card
Clue
for
and
turn.
Thrasios.
Clue, and then the Thrasios draw there. So we might, but it's active, non-active with Smothering Tide. So the Smothering Tide is going to happen first.
But it looks like a land has been played.
Okay, then I don't know. Is it a choice?
I'm not sure. I think it's actually a mandatory action.
Oh, let's quick check on that. Quick check on that.
Yeah, Tamio is a mandatory action.
When you draw your 3rd card in a turn, exile. Yeah, that is mandatory.
It's a mandatory action. We're gonna go check in and make sure that the judge at the table is aware.
I mean, maybe the clue just went off screen somewhere.
It easily could have, and we might be misinterpreting exactly what happened. But just to double check to make sure the game state is how it needs to be. We're sending our representative over there.
Yeah, just a quick check-in, make sure that if Tamio was supposed to flip, it has.
Yeah.
If it hasn't, like, I do see a token over there. I thought
we did tap the talent gates for.
I thought we cracked
clue.
the clue as well. Right.
Yeah, because you go
We're
drop.
not reaching to flip it, so I guess it hasn't been flipped.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be flipped. I guess the clue is represented over there.
Well, I think you go. I think it was drop, return, clue, Thrasios, which is 3, which would be the trigger for whatchamacallit, Tamio. That's what it's called. Tamio, Inquisitive Scholar.
That sounds correct. I believe Tamio. I don't know what the backside is called, but I believe it is Tamio.
Oh,
Inquisitive student. You were close.
Student, okay.
Tamio seasoned scholar is the back half. So I guess, yeah, we are flipping that maybe now.
Okay, yeah, so that is going to be flipped here.
Yeah, so, okay, we did catch that. That's nice to see. And, I mean, maybe that's actually good for Matt. I mean,
I would think so. I mean, the backside of Tamio is very strong.
it makes me wonder how much it was even on his radar to flip it or not.
Yeah.
Because now the whole table getting a quick read. Yeah,
What
does
does
the
this
thing
thing do again?
I mean, the plus is actually pretty real, right? You got all these
it
attackers.
is good.
A lot of power in play right now.
Yeah,
And the -3 also comes up. A lot
very
of tech.
relevant.
And we are now going to make some decisions with the Tamio. Also worth noting, as we're kind of really getting into the dregs of this game, I believe that's correct.
Yes.
Only 18 minutes left in the round.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, this is a game that definitely has potential to go to time.
Time
There's
is
no
going
doubt
to
about
become a
it.
factor for sure.
Certainly.
So,
And I believe that's a +2. Tamio starts at 2 loyalty, so Matt is elected to just +2, and see what else he's got
yeah,
going
I mean,
on.
I don't hate it at all. There's a lot of just garbage on the field. If you can improve
Yeah.
blocks across the board on the table, some people have flyers, some people got some ground blockers. That actually does something organically to stop Timna. Now, we are untapping with the One Ring and,
Yeah.
7 treasures with Professional Facebreaker. Like,
Yeah.
I think Nick is going to need to move soon. I don't think he needs to move now.
I don't
Because
think
there is still
that's
the Ranger
true.
Captain effigy,
Sure,
right?
and the Glenalendra is a problem you will have to deal with.
Right.
2 activations up.
But, I mean, you're with just the One Ring stuff and Timna and Crom and you can almost just draw your whole deck
Basically.
before you really have to go. That might
Yeah.
happen on in another turn cycle or two, but I mean, we're at the point now where a turn cycle can take like 10 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
So you don't have that many turns
No,
left.
I think this is kind of your window. Notably, though, Nick did, I think, miss the ability on Matt's end step to untap that One Ring, get another activation, be drawing, a few more cards.
Yeah, we just did it here, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just did the trick. So I think we either
That would
missed
have
it or
given him
didn't
4 more
want it.
cards. Mystic more. So yeah, it looks like Nick is poised to just keep passing.
I mean, might as well, like I said, if you can get one more turn, you could probably go through nearly your entire deck between
Certainly.
Facebreaker, all your creatures, and all that stuff, and you've got to be able to find a win there.
It will be hard for Tim Necrom to win, regardless, unless he could find Born Upon a Wind. A lot of builds are playing.
Sure.
Because you have to fight through not only 2 Glenalendra triggers, but also the Ranger Captain off the Machine God's Effigy. So you're going to need removal. You're going to need Born Upon a Wind. You're going to need a way to get your spells to resolve.
Quick
Right.
Valley Flood Caller check. We do have the Polywog Prodigy. You've seen a little bit of that one. No.
Sean is Tidebinder. Okay.
Yeah, Tidebinder.
Sure,
How
sure,
about
sure.
a Tidebinder?
Oh, a Tidebinder on the Ranger Captain trigger? All right.
Yeah, you could cook with that. But yeah, I think that
No Born?
no Valley
No
Flood
Flood Caller.
Caller.
Okay.
Looking for Born. We do have a Born.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to do instant speed stuff, it's really just Born. Check in
Yes.
for Final Fortune. That can come up as
Well,
well.
there's a trick bind as well.
We are stopping.
Wow,
trigger and activated
we're
abilities,
deep
though.
we're deep in here.
Does not like abilities. We also have Strict Serenity. A little bit of
Serenity,
stuff.
okay,
Sweet
okay.
stuff going
All
on
right,
here.
all right, all right.
I don't see a Final Fortune.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these lists have moved away from Final Fortune, which is shocking to me because the power to take an extra turn in a 4-player game,
Time Walk good.
Time Walk is very good. Who cares if you lose the game when you win it?
I mean, yeah,
You know?
you can't, what's the reminder text on the Warriors out there? Whatever.
You don't lose
You
if
don't
you
lose
win.
if you win instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Timeless advice.
Exactly. That's I need to get that on a shirt.
You do. You do.
Yeah.
I'd buy that shirt.
Oh, sure.
And with the original Art of Warriors though too. I mean, I don't know what copyright
Ooh,
stuff looks like.
The,
That art's
the
nice.
P3K art with them
Yeah.
doing the
Talk to
salute. Oh man.
Talk to me.
I mean, some of my other local friends who enjoy Rogsai, when somebody casts Warriors Oath, it's like instantly, boom, salute. Instantly hit the salute.
The salute,
The
huh?
salute, because they're taking the oath.
Okay.
They're a warrior.
That feels a little, I don't,
A little what?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
little
I feel like
corny?
you're just towing a line. You're towing a line that I don't know where I want to go with
Okay,
that.
okay.
What I will tell you is there's a dam pulled to the front of Nick's hand.
Oh,
So-
yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. That is
Well, I
pretty
mean,
good.
not really, because like it blows up a lot of your own stuff.
It also just gets countered by Lenalendra.
Well, it would also just blow up Little Ledger in one way or another. It works either way.
Sure,
Resolving or not
sure.
resolving, Little Lendra's out of here. Oh, how about your own Bowmasters? So
Okay,
we have,
yeah,
if
sure.
Furbo's first Bowmasters is good, how about
How about
second
two?
Bowmasters? That Orc Army kind of getting to be like a real power. I don't know
Yeah.
if we have time to win with combat damage, but I mean,
This turn is taking quite. They have 14 minutes left. It's. I'm gonna be honestly.
not in a rush. Nick's not in a rush at all.
Yeah, I really. I at this point with the amount of time left, it's real that we might not get back to next turn. If we start passing, it just might not happen.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm at. Like I've seen these turn cycles take quite some time, especially when you start talking about these decision trees. I mean, he's got a lot of
Yeah.
removal. And he's got Swords to Plowshares, got a bunch of stuff. Is it time to move? Looks like the answer might be yes. Here comes Swords to Plowshares being cast.
Yeah, the problem with Lenalendra too being on board here is that if you're out is to just try to draw into Born and just go on top of everybody here. You're not going to be able to beat Lenalendra unless you have your Trick Binder, Shauna's Tidebinder, which Nick is apparently playing. But still,
Yeah, the Glenalundra plus Machine God's Effigy Ranger Captain is a big 1-2
It's
punch for
huge,
Nick. I mean,
yeah.
that's a real problem.
that's a real problem.
Especially no Final Fortune. A lot of the ways you beat the silence effects previously, this is why I was looking for it,
Yep.
is either going on top with Born or
Yep.
Final Fortune. Just
Exactly.
let it
Yeah.
expire. Having really none of that going on, really just Born, does limit your abilities to win on top of some of
Yes.
this other nonsense. Because you could try to win on top of the Persist trigger, you could try to win on top of the Ranger Captain stuff. Like you could do multiple layers, but really only Born lets you do it once.
Yeah, and these players kind of know that the only thing they need to counter right now is Born. Right? It's tough. It's tough. It's tough to know how to really navigate this if you're Nick. You're in a winning position. There's no doubt about it. You're just thinking, how do I lose this game?
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Right.
What I said, I believe, turn 2, I think holds true here still. This is Nick's game to lose.
Absolutely.
However,
Yeah.
whatever happens, if anything other than Nick coming away a victor, I think it's going to be a game where you have to go back and say what went wrong.
Yeah.
Any other result that isn't Nick winning, I think there's just, even though there's some problems on board, we see Chain of Vapor pulled to the front, we see Dam pulled to the front, like there's answers to the problems.
Yes.
Even though there's problems on board, I think Nick has the resources to take care of it. It's nothing that is insurmountable.
No, definitely not. Yeah, like I said, I think the thing that Nick might be up against here, if he can't get it to happen this turn, is time. More
Right.
than anything else.
And this is why I think, yeah, here we see the Dam going after the first
Yep.
part of Glen Ledger. And if you just let this happen, I mean, the same result, counter it, not counter.
Yep.
Trigger. Persist does not bring your creature back tapped.
Sure. Fair
That's
enough.
regenerate.
Yeah,
Regenerate tap
yeah.
your creature.
Guy's been playing a little
Unless
too much.
unless I'm losing, is there a reason it would come
no,
tapped?
no.
Whatever.
Playing a little too much pre-modern there.
Oh?
You know?
No, I don't. Tell me.
A little some regenerate action?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, is pre-modern, is regenerate only relegated to pre-modern now?
Where else are
Old
you
folks?
regenerating?
I guess
Right?
that's fair. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't
Welding
know.
jar?
Yeah, you. Well,
People-
sure. Okay,
some
okay.
modern
okay.
action?
All right,
Come
all right,
on,
all right.
come on.
My bad, my bad. I'm with you. I'm with you.
All right, so Nick having to sort, unfortunately for him, through his embarrassment of riches to try to see
Yeah.
if he wants to do anything else this turn.
I know Santana's looking at that, thinking, "Man, he's going to discard so much. His threshold's going to be on. His Cephalid Coliseum would work right now. What is mine doing for me?"
He's been really patient with his Otawara. Like, if
Yeah.
any of this stuff has been a problem for you, like if any of this Ranger Captain, anything is a problem for you, Otawara solves some of that. As here's a Tainted Pact from Andrew. I mean, that's something they're talking about right now, so we haven't actually moved to discards yet. But it's just interesting to me that, like, he's had answers. He's found more answers.
Yeah.
He's been really patient. I have to wonder how much he's aware of the clock and the clock management. Because, I mean, time's dwindling. We still haven't even passed his turn.
Yeah.
And we're really at that 10-minute mark. And that, to me, is like a benchmark. It's like a late,
Like, we're
past turn
going.
4.
We're going.
10 minutes is a turn cycle.
Yes.
Past turn 4. So that's kind of just my heuristic. It's obviously sometimes one, sometimes the other, like more
Yeah.
or less. But my benchmark is like at about 10 minutes. And
Well,
Nick's about to be
we
past
went into next turn at 18 minutes.
Right. Yeah,
That's
I mean, he's
something- I mean,
a long time on his turn
yeah.
as well, just trying to figure out
What
how to
what
navigate
do.
this game.
And
Right.
this is a funny thing from Andrew. This would be a wild way to see the game end. I say this every single time I see a Tainted Pact cast on stream at end step. What if he just reverse oracles us?
I would love to see it.
It'd be sick, right? Wouldn't that be crazy?
Oh yeah, I mean it'd be good.
It would be good.
It
would be good. You gotta hope that Trick Bind or that Tashana's Tidebinder or your Force of Will is live and ready to go.
Well, given the way he's sorting,
Yeah. Okay. All right. I called
think
it.
you might have shot
Boom.
called here because he's just throwing that deck to the wind.
Oh, let me take a look. Yeah, sure, buddy. Go ahead.
All right, let's see if I want.
I could wish these back later.
Sure. Not with actual wish. I don't think
No.
actual wish.
What's the white one called? You know what I'm talking about? Pull from Eternity.
Pull from eternity.
Snap off a little
What you
pull
know
from
about
eternity.
Is it Rift Sweeper?
Rift Sweeper.
There you
Okay.
go. What you
Okay.
know about that guy?
All right. All right.
That used to be a CH
Morph.
staple, man.
Morph that thing up.
Morph? I don't think
Is
it
that
morphs.
the one?
No,
I
it's
don't
like a
think
1 and a green elf that like shuffles a card from exile to the bottom.
I'm
of your
thinking of a
deck.
totally different
No,
card.
it's horrific.
Okay. Okay.
People used to play it all the time in CH.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the
Okay.
worst thing you've ever seen in your life.
I thought it was
Not
a
that Pull
morph
from eternity was good, but you used to be able to do reverse World Gorger Dragon stuff with Tainted
Yeah.
Pact. I actually owned a Tainted Pact before Thazorg was printed for that reason. You would like flip over to find World Gorger Dragon, and you go past it and go find your Pull from eternity, and then you pull from eternity, you build your own Entomb.
That's so funny.
It's horrific.
You gotta love it.
It's really bad, but it was really fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
And we're long past that era.
Yes.
Pulling things from exile used to be something people thought they could afford in their deck lists. Kind of past it now.
Yeah, you have to play good cards now. Unfortunately for everyone at the table. Unfortunately,
I mean,
well,
you know,
yeah,
it
you know.
makes the games more interesting. You're not just stuck with some blanks.
Sure.
Take a look here. So we
Let's
do
see.
progress the game.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, we're at 8 minutes. I don't think Nick's getting another turn.
no, he's not getting.
I'm
another
saying
turn.
that right now.
I
I just don't think Nick's
I'm
getting
very
another turn.
confident about.
We have a
that
lot of
fact.
Thrasios activations between now and then.
Yeah.
Which to me, I mean, if he has Born, maybe it doesn't matter. He doesn't need another turn. He can just wait until the first turn of turns and then be okay. Okay, we're Ranger captaining.
Which
Doesn't
honestly
do anything with a reverse Oracle.
doesn't do anything versus reverse Oracle.
But
It-
there's
it,
an onboard Glen Alendra to defend. No, that doesn't do anything either.
It does. Cavern of Souls.
Cavern of Souls makes it to where nothing works.
Okay, game over basically, right? Like
And you've already Ranger captained the whole table to where they can't even stop a Thassa's Oracle, which I think what Matt is kind of exasperatedly hand motioning about.
yeah,
is like
it didn't make
you
any
just,
sense.
You just Ranger captain does. Now we can't stop the reverse Oracle, which is exactly what you called out. So I guess only Nick can. So here he comes.
Well, we can stifle the trigger, or
There
play
it
a
is,
Born
as
Upon
you
a Wind.
called it, Born.
But here,
All right, if you're the Glen Alendra player,
if you're Matt, crack my Ranger Captain,
yeah,
or we draw. Or this is where you get into the politics of I'm gonna crack this, or let's draw. But what else do you do if you're Matt or Santana with onboard
and a
trick?
disaster if you're Nick. Like this is, I mean, really, this whole last turn cycle kind of went as bad as one. It
Yeah.
looked like he was really going to try to start to navigate things. We saw him use Source of Busters, use Dam. It looks like he was starting to
Yeah.
work through the problems, and then he just kind of cut it short and passed with like 7-8 mana.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's like some trepidatiousness that comes from not having Dockside to just really spike your mana into beyond
it
what
could
you need
be
area.
honestly. It could just
Or
be
if
a
you
little
really
bit of
thought
a-
he couldn't
a
do
play
it.
style. You know, an issue in terms of when you're ready to go for it, being aware of the limitations of the turn, right?
Yeah, I mean, and now we're just. I mean, if you let Born resolve, your Ranger Captain doesn't do anything for the rest of the game. You know, you have Glen Alendra and whatever that can counter it, but like now you're right. I mean, this just
Yeah,
come to.
this just does it.
All right, let's do a draw because now this is just other players get to pick
It
who
is
wins.
it is extremely notable though that Nick has an Odawara in hand. Now that I'm thinking about it, Nick has an Odawara in hand, plenty of mana to pay for it, and Andrew only has two cards in his library left
Sure, he left both.
for some reason, which I'm not sure why you do that personally.
I mean, I guess you don't want to get. I don't know. Was there anything that target player draws a card that's played anyway?
Not that these decks are
Sure,
playing. Maybe
fair enough.
Krark, you're a little worried about that, but not here.
Okay, well, Born has just happened, so.
Oh man.
Nick is attempting a win, and this, like you said, the Odawara might be a moneymaker, but really, obviously, we're just trying to win on top. But again,
Sure.
what has changed now that wasn't true on your turn? Nothing has happened. I mean, we just moved to Andrew's turn, he cast a spell.
You know, actually, I'm realizing now that we're thinking about the timer. This match did start late, I believe, due to deck checks.
Right.
So I think we do have like a 10-minute extension on this game. So that is relevant in terms of getting back to Nick here. But if we have a Born Upon a Win resolving,
I mean, the Born Upon the Win means that's probably not going to matter. If you're not winning on your Born turn, you're not winning at all.
yes, for sure.
So,
It's very possible that Born hasn't fully resolved yet. No, he drew the card off of it. It is
yeah, no, the
resolved.
Board's resolved. He flashed in an Elliot.
Yeah.
It just happened.
I don't
So,
know. The conversation's over at this point.
Yeah, I mean, either Nick's winning or he's not, but winning through a Ranger Captain and a Glen Alendra is a
It's still
tall
hard.
ask.
Even with Bourne, it's still
Yeah,
hard.
even with Bourne, yeah, it's a huge ask. Like, you have to set up so much, and, like, Breach is so far from
Yes.
really doing much, right?
And he might not see the Odawara line is also the possibility.
I think he needs to find his tricks. He needs to find his trick bind. He needs to find his Tashanis
Yeah.
Tidebinder. There's demonic consultation.
Maybe he's trying to reverse the Oracle too.
Sure.
Why not? Don't we all?
That looks to be correct.
Yes. Okay. Everyone loves reverse Oracle.
All right. So we have now, on top of your Thassa's Oracle,
My thoughts is Oracle.
here's my Thassa's Oracle. And the console is already resolved, so that one needs to be in the graveyard. That's not actually on the stack anymore, but the Thassa's Oracle is. So there's two Thassa's Oracles in the stack.
Yeah.
How good would Mindbreak Trap be, huh?
Well, if you can cast it.
Yeah, you can't cast it. Ranger
Yeah.
Captain. So I think Nick did manage to find everything he needed.
It's just awkward. A little awkward on the. I'm a little confused.
I don't know why this console just resolved.
Me neither. I don't know
Like,
why.
we have a Glen Alendra.
I don't know why the console resolved. I don't know why the Ranger Captain on Matt's end wasn't cracked. There's a couple things that I'm a little confused about how they happened that I guess only the players know.
Well, I'm sure there's politics involved, right? Because
Sure,
if you just
sure.
crack Ranger Captain in response to the board, you just be like, okay, well, I don't have anything. I need to find something. Which is, I think, is BS because you have so
Yes.
many cards in your hand. But
Yes.
whatever. If that is the argument, it's like, okay, if you crack it, like then you're just dead to this guy. And there's all the counter magic he could have used.
Yeah.
We see Flare, Odawara, Swan Song, all this stuff. But, I mean, managed
They're
ball his
scooping
way
it
to
up.
win, and Nick does eventually win there with a
Yeah.
little bit of time left on the clock.
A little bit of a hairy situation.
The expected outcome.
Yes.
Which, like, it feels, I don't want to diminish what Nick accomplished in this game. That turn 2 Smothering Tide was a huge
For
part
sure.
of his game plan. And, I mean, Andrew fed it with Mystic Gamora the whole game.
Yeah.
And Nick was ahead the whole game. And it looked like the players had kind of assembled something that was a real problem between the Machine God Effigy becoming a Ranger Captain and then the Glen
Yeah.
Alendra. Hard to counter, but also really problematic for Nick winning. Nick found the spot anyway. Like
Made
you
it
mentioned,
happen.
off the spot of Born Upon a Win. So,
Yeah.
I mean, played out more or less kind of as expected, which...
Yeah,
go
there
for
was
it.
a couple moments at the end there where things got maybe a little hairy, a little maybe too close for comfort, where maybe it didn't need to be, but it's just how it goes.
It is odd. Once again, I mean, I can point. I'm in the booth. You know, they're down there in the battles,
Of
in the
course.
trenches, and
Yeah.
you know, just because I wouldn't do it that
You're
way,
coddled.
I would do something different. Coddled.
We're coddled.
Yeah,
bastards.
fed chicken and waffles.
Oh
I'm
my
just
God.
gaining pounds,
Red velvet waffles with fried chicken. Oh my.
running my
Frosting.
mouth.
Oh,
But
give
I
it
mean,
to me.
whatever. He managed to clinch it up, and that's the power of TNK. We can talk about
Yeah,
it over
yeah,
and over
absolutely.
again. It was the best deck in CDH for a long time. Might still be the best deck now.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, this is why.
Absolutely.
You just reach this point where you have such an embarrassment of riches that,
Yep.
like, no matter what trickery players have, and I've
Yeah.
seen some weird trickery work, you have ways around it.
And this was a good showing for TNK for sure. I mean, all those little value creatures and card engines and Smothering Tide, that all just was firing in all cylinders every step of the way. The One Ring and Manamo, I mean, that's not a combination of cards I would imagine in TNK, but man, did it perform like crazy here.
Yeah, all the tips and tricks coming up. So, I mean, there you go. Nick's going to win it. And of course, that is the second match that we managed to play here in round number 2 of the Boil 2, the first Diamond event, part of the 2025 Topdeck Championship Series. So, not a lot of time left on the clock, which means not a very long break for all of you at home. So, use the bathroom, do whichever you need to do. And we will be back for round number 3 here very shortly of 5 today. Don't go anywhere.
See you soon.